Good morning. Welcome to RSBN Live. I'm Matthew Alvarez. It's an honor to join you from Studio B as Studio A is under renovation. But you know what? This is one of the epic studios in the history of Right Side Broadcasting Network. Not the first ever studio, but one of the ones that have been around for a minute. So it is an honor to be in here live today, bringing you coverage of the President of the United States. And we have a number of videos to get to, of course, a lot of elements that we'll have. We know that President Trump will be speaking and signing executive orders at about 10 this morning, so we'll have that here for you live. Today's presidential schedule is as follows. President Trump will sign those executive orders at 10. At 12 o'clock, the president will then greet the President of the Republic of Korea, Lee Jae-myung. At 12:15, the two will have a meeting inside the Oval Office. So we have a lot to cover here at the network. Of course, we have a lot of video elements, as I said earlier, and a lot of great sponsors to talk about. So we're looking forward to bringing you all of this live coverage on this Monday, August 25th. First, let's go with the president talking about D.C. law enforcement. You know, the other day, he was actually there with the D.C. National Guard and law enforcement. Take a look.
You people are winners, and I just think it's such an honor to be with you. And we're going to make Washington, D.C. great again. We're making our country great again. The country is very close to being great. When they say it's the hottest country in the world, they mean it. And this Capitol is right now, after 4 days, 5 days, it's at a level that you haven't seen in a long time, and it's all because of you. So I want to thank you all very much. It's an honor to be with you, and we'll always be with you. We're going to be with you for as long as I'm around. You're going to be treated as nobody more important, and thank you all very much for being here. Thank you. Thank you very much. Doug, would you like to say something? Thank you, everybody.
Always good to see the president out there speaking with law enforcement, speaking with the D.C. National Guard, and that's something that we've been seeing being talked about by President Trump, of course. We saw it out there at the Oval Office just last week, speaking about Chicago and other cities as well when it comes to the possible dispatching of the National Guard. Again, this is all about law and order, protecting our streets, making them safe. And anybody that's against safety, I question their motive, you know. And we're hearing from the mayor of Chicago, the mayor of, L.A. back when the ICE, deportations were going on. And these mayors are 100% against President Trump. So are the governors of California and Illinois. They're making it a very, very sharp political battle instead of just saying, hey, you know what? The president wants to clean up the streets and make them safe. And right now, the numbers of the crime rate in Chicago, even though some of them are saying, oh, it's going down a little bit. Well, a little bit isn't enough. Look at what's happening in Washington, D.C. right now. So we're seeing a lot of great things happen when it comes to the National Guard being there. So that's kind of food for thought with what we're seeing, especially when we have a leader that is on the right side of history. He's not as the left would call him, authoritarian dictator and all that. That would be if someone were to say something wrong about the president, that we would go and, ICE would go and get him or something. That's not what's happening here. We can't get it twisted. The information and the specifics are very important when there's these huge moves by our president. But really, though, these moves aren't that huge. Think about it. These are what a president is supposed to do. I think the thing is we just haven't had a president, a real one, in so long. So now we have a real deal president. How about in our entire lifetime, we have not had the real deal as a president? So isn't that wonderful? I was thinking the other day about the fact that the other living presidents right now, of course, George W. Bush, Bill Clinton, Barack Obama. I won't mention the last administration because President Trump should have been in office the whole time there anyway. But you think about Obama, Bush, and you think about Clinton, right? What are these guys thinking when you see President Trump, as a badass that he is, sitting there at the Oval Office talking about these crimes, talking about tariffs, talking about constitutional rights, talking about defending the Constitution and all the great things that we see that the president's doing? What do these fake presidents, because they were fake. I mean, yeah, they got elected in, and I'm talking about Clinton, Obama, and George W. Bush. But these guys weren't doing anything for the people. They were just part of the uniparty. It just was, let's pretend. Oh, I'm a Democrat. Oh, I'm a Republican. Yeah, right. What we have is a true common sense leader in President Trump, and we're not forgetting the fact that he went through so much on behalf of the American people. We went through so much on behalf of just what we want in our country, the Constitution to be the law of the land. And so here we are. We're seeing that we have this leader that's on the right side of history. And so again, when we see the Chicago mayor, Brandon Johnson, and we see Pritzker as Robert McNeely, and I'm in the Voice of Reason studio today, and also our studio until we get our Studio A upgraded and renovated. But the point is, it's great to hear the jelly belly Pritzker that Robert McNeely calls the governor of Illinois. And Bobby's from Chicago. He's from Illinois. So he has a right as a former citizen of that land, but being born there, to say something like that. So anyway, looking forward to having more coverage here live with you on Right Side Broadcasting Network. It is 9:06 in the morning, and a great way to start the day here on this August 25th to talk about all family pharmacy. So of course, you want to be prepared. You want the treatments your family might need before any kind of emergency hits. Hopefully it doesn't. But most pharmacies and insurance companies make that almost impossible with gatekeepers and outrageous prices. So if all family pharmacy, of course, they're different. Here you can stock up on your essential medications, order exactly what you want, and keep it on hand so you're ready for anything. Now, while other pharmacies are raising prices, All Family Pharmacy has lowered theirs, giving you 25% off their most requested medications. So you're talking ivermectin, mebendazole, plus an extra 10% off with our promo code RSBN10. They offer medications many providers refuse, like ivermectin, starting at just $2 per capsule. Hydroxychloroquine, mebendazole, methylene blue, antibiotics, antivirals, and more, all with a doctor's prescription included. So ordering is simple. All you have to do is fill out your request online. A licensed doctor reviews it, and your medications shipped to your door in just a few days. So you can check them out. You'll definitely find something you need. Go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN and use the code RSBN10 to save an extra 10%. Let's go to one more sponsor here on Right Side. This is one of our great new sponsors, Monetary Gold. And Bank of America just announced that the U.S. dollar is on verge of spiraling and collapse. So think about that. It's your savings, your retirement, your paycheck, all losing value faster than ever. History tells us that when paper money fails, precious metals win. So gold and silver have been the ultimate store of value for more than 5,000 years. That's why now is the time to call Monetary Gold the trusted name in physical gold and silver. They'll show you how to protect your retirement savings before it's too late. So you can call that number you see there on your screen, or you could also call 888-617-7994, or visit rsbnforthegold.com today. Don't wait for the collapse to happen. Be ready before it does. All right, so it's 9:08. I'm enjoying this microphone here because, you look at the RSBN logo, and this is, again, an honor to be in Studio B today as Studio A is continuing to get the renovations. We'll be back in there sometime here in the near future, but wonderful to be in a studio for the first time live in this one here as we cover President Trump and also the executive orders that will be signed in about 52 minutes from now. We have a lot of news to get to, a lot of video elements, and then we'll have a second broadcast today as the South Korean leader will be visiting President Trump. That second broadcast starts at about 11 Eastern. We'll be live here in Studio B for you for that as well. All right, hopefully you had a great weekend. And thank you again for joining us on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Let's get back to some of those videos. If you're just joining us, we first played President Trump talking with the D.C. National Guard the other day and local law enforcement. Isn't it great to have the top cop, the commander-in-chief, the chief law enforcement officer out there, right there with law enforcement that simply wants to do their job and do it right. See, under people that are on the left side of history or actual dictators and all that, then those militaries or those law enforcement are working on behalf of someone that is on the wrong side of history, totally against all of the people's freedoms. But in this case, it's President Trump on the right side of history, protecting freedoms, protecting the people's safety. If anybody has a problem with that, again, maybe move to a different country, or maybe just kind of pipe down a little bit. I mean, you're allowed to speak, of course, it's freedom of speech, but I can't believe that the mayor of Chicago, Brandon Johnson, and Pritzker, the governor, and Newsom out in L.A. and California, and Mayor Bass and others are trying to speak and say that these things that the president's thinking of for Chicago next is the Illinois National Guard to come out there and assist local law enforcement in cutting down on crime. If I was a mayor of the third largest city in the country, I'd be like, thank you, sir. We needed the help. These guys are just so against not just President Trump. This isn't just about President Trump and about the people. The core of it is the control, the power, anti-Constitution, anti the people, anti the guy that's working for the people and his administration. That's the root cause, as you guys know. I was looking at some mainstream news reports about the mayor there in Chicago. I mean, his approval rating was in the tank and probably still is. Do you remember some of the people at some of the city council meetings? They were out there being really upset with the mayor and people from all backgrounds in Chicago. And he's acting like, oh, the people don't want the National Guard, or he said something about this in context. He was talking about rising up. Rising up? What are you talking about, man? There's crime in your city. The National Guard is going to kick some serious butt in the sense of make sure that the crime is not happening, or at least to cut down on it. I mean, look at D.C. alone and think about this. I hope that the National Guard's there for quite some time to really take care of business, really make it safe for people that visit Washington. But also, how about that? I mean, I've never been to the city of Chicago. I'd love to go see a Chicago Bulls game or a Chicago Blackhawks or Chicago White Sox or Chicago Cubs, right? I've never been there. I heard the music scene's great. I heard that the food is great and all that, right? So I'm like, well, I'd like to go check it out. But I'm not checking it out right now. Just like New York. I don't want to go to New York right now. If I had to on assignment, sure. But if I had the National Guard there, I'd be walking right there with them. Thank you guys for what you're doing. And that leads me to my next point before we get to Judge Jeanine Piro, who did a great job like usual. She's doing awesome like Ed Martin and others are. She was speaking to the same people that President Trump spoke to in Washington, D.C. just the other day, speaking to them and thanking all the law enforcement and D.C. National Guard. Before I get to that point, there is a great photo that I posted on Truth Social. I don't have it here for you right now, but if you want to go to @MatthewAlvarez, you can check it out. But it shows a black woman and a white National Guardsman, right? And she and he are fist pumping. She gave him a fist bump. So it was pretty cool. And to see that it's not what the mainstream media says, that these National Guard are out there, you know, it's a bad thing. No, people want them there. It's only the politicians that are trying to speak for the people. And again, you remember, if you're on the left side of history and you're a politician and you're trying to speak for the people, you're not speaking for the people. The majority of the people in every state across this country, and some that didn't vote, unfortunately, but I believe are on the right side of history. Common sense, great people. And there it is. Great job, guys, for putting that up there. That's the picture right there on the bottom right of your screen. That picture tells the story. The people want the National Guard. Now, can I just judge it off of one picture, or can I judge it off of all of the social media posts that are out there on X, on Truth Social? Should I judge it off of all the local news reports where people are saying crime is a concern here? Some people saying, I'm afraid to go outside because I heard pop, pop, pop. I heard gunshots. Or how about getting carjacked? How about all this crap that's happening in our country and President Trump is here to clean it up? That's the perspective. You want to tell it like it is? There you go. You're not going to hear that on the mainstream media. 9:14. Thanks again for joining us in Studio B, as Studio A is getting worked on. All right, let's go to Judge Jeanine Piro, clip 2. She was also alongside the president last week while she and others spoke with D.C. law enforcement and the D.C. National Guard. Take a look.
I just want to say thank you to all of you. Every night when you hit the street, you make a difference, not just for us, but for everyone in the district. They are grateful for what you do. They are thankful. And I am making sure that we back the blue to the hilt. Every arrest you make, we're going to the longest way to make sure that we charge in those cases. So God bless you and thank you for what you do. You're making a difference. And Mr. President, without you, no one would even have tried. So thank you.
You know, as you listen to Judge Jeanine Piro there and you hear from President Trump and you see what's happening, this is kind of like my buddy put it the other day. He was saying it's kind of like President Trump is a drink of water in the hot desert sand. Like for years, we haven't had a real deal president taking care of business for the American people. A lot of talk, a lot of speeches, a lot sounded good, but there was nothing that was really the real thing. And we finally, in our lifetimes, we're seeing the real thing, and we're seeing President Trump, and that's awesome to see that. And whether I am at Right Side Broadcasting Network or I'm speaking personally to a friend on the phone or speaking to my wife, these are the things we're talking about. These are real deal things that are happening for our country. So really looking forward to seeing more wins and more accountability through the next 3.5 years as we want our country to be so secured and saved by this administration, but by also by all of you guys out there when it comes to the midterm election votes, you know, getting out the vote, making the midterm election a flashpoint, if you like to call it that, or maybe just pretend it's the November 5th, 2024 election. You really don't have to pretend, because indirectly it is, because we want President Trump to have the Senate and Congress backing him and the administration's plans for our country. And they are all within those 20 core promises that we've talked about plenty of times here at the network, and they're all positive and good. Not one of those 20 core promises are bad for the nation. They're all good. We know that. So, all right, so callshe.com, one of our great sponsors here at Right Side, callshe.com/RSBN. You can download the app. You can go to the website. You can also bet, trade, or check out polls on Callshe as well. A lot of different topics: science, technology, sports, weather, faith, politics, all sorts of stuff that you can check out what people are saying about each of the different polls out there. And I know football season is here. It's kind of around the corner, as in the NFL starts, I believe, Thursday after Labor Day, and college football already kicking off. So great to see that. And those of you that are college football fans out there, all right, we got you, because the NFL, man, I'll tell you, it's tough. It's hard to break up that emotional attachment that you have maybe for a team, because a lot of Steeler fans out there, a lot of Vikings fans, Giants, 49ers, whoever you're into. But something about college football is always fun, more kind of focused right there on a specific area. Anyway, callshe.com. That's one of the things you can check out there if you'd like sports on callshe.com/RSBN. Let's go to angelpaste.com as well. Use that RSBN promo code. You'll get the percentage off. You'll have the Miracle Cream as an option. You also have a number of other great options there on angelpaste.com to choose from out of Spring, Texas. They hire military veterans, longtime sponsor here at the network. And great to have them with us here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's 9:18 this morning. Looking forward to seeing President Trump. He's going to sign some executive orders at about 10 this morning. And then we'll have a new broadcast that will start at 11 this morning, as the president will meet with the Korean leader, the South Korean leader. Then you will see the two leaders meet, just like we do when we're in Studio A. It's nothing different here in Studio B, other than a couple different looks, you know what I mean? But it's all good. And we'll see the two leaders meet outside of the White House at about 12 o'clock. And then the president and the leader of South Korea will be having that meeting inside the Oval Office. And usually we hear from the president as well with a Q&A back and forth with the reporters. So we'll have that here for you on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Let's keep talking about D.C. a little bit. Let's go to a video. It's clip 3 about making Washington, D.C. safe again. Check it out. Pretty cool track this morning on this Monday morning, August 25th. That, again, all of these different social media accounts that we see, they're all government accounts. So we have the approval through government in the sense of we're able to use that in public use. So that's why we have these different videos that we're playing here on Right Side. But these are all within that 24/7 news cycle that you guys can see, and we'll bring that to you live. It's kind of like we're a news aggregate in some ways as well. Other than being a conservative news network, because, you know, we bring it all here for you. And on top of that, we're on the side of the majority of this country. I mean, you think about something, and we're going to get to this a little bit later. President Trump spoke about the fake news on Truth Social recently. And, you know, it was interesting because he wasn't just saying that these networks are biased, because we all have a bias, right? In the sense of we can report the news, which we do. And then we have our op-ed, opinion editorial, which is what we've seen in newspapers. But the problem is when people mix them too much, and especially when you're on the left side of the aisle and you're actually reporting false information and purposely sharing false information, which is the definition of disinformation. So if you know you're lying to the people and you're like, hey, this is what happened, well, that's not what happened, you know, or whatever you're covering for. Misinformation is when there's a mistake in reporting. That happens. Misinformation. So a lot of people use those words interchangeably, but they're not. Misinformation is a mistake in reporting, and then you go, oh, that's a mistake. You correct it. But disinformation is the evil one. That's the false one. That's the one where you know you're lying, but you're covering for, or you're trying to push a false narrative agenda. Doing the weave a little bit, working on that weave like President Trump can do so well. But back to the point is on that Truth Social post, President Trump talks about a bias for the left wing, but also he says untruthful reporting. And I saw that, man, I retweeted that bad boy real quick because, again, on the right side of history in conservative media, we love truth. We love common sense. We love the Constitution. We love God, family, country, all the things, right? So we do truthful reporting. And if we make a mistake, then we'll correct it and be very transparent. Kind of like what you see with this administration. It's truth and transparency. That's the same thing that the conservative media is doing, or at least working to do, as we continue to grow and give the American people or the world, you never know, will there be more conservative media outlets globally? Because the globe deals with this left-wing garbage all the time in mainstream media. So why not just see other conservative outlets grow around the world? Because it's, again, conservative outlets are more for we the people, or for freedom, or, again, for God, family, country. So just breaking down, just telling it like it is. It might not be the most intellectual, scientific kind of school of thought, but you know what? Sometimes the simple things are profound and show the so-called wise people that think they're wise that they don't know they're, you know what, from a hole in the ground. So anyway, it's 9 a.m. and I'm talking like that. It is what it is. It must be the set. It must be the set that we're in today as Studio A is getting revamped. It's going to look great over there. I'm sure it is. All right, let's go to a couple more videos. It's 9:23 this morning. President Trump visiting law enforcement and the National Guard. Clip 4. There's just, let's keep revisiting D.C. as we want D.C. To be safe, and we want all of our cities to be safe. We'll have more on that in just a second, but let's look at clip 4.
You got to be strong, you got to be tough, you got to do your job. Whatever it takes to do your job, you got to do your job. But I've never received so many phone calls thanking me for what we've done in Washington, D.C. I just wanted to thank you all. You're doing incredible. You're incredible people. You make the country run, frankly. You make the whole place run. We're going to have the best capital ever.
Great to see President Trump out there. I was thinking, man, he's going to go on a patrol, which he did. He was in the Beast driving around all these different parts of D.C., I'm sure with law enforcement. I didn't get to see any video of that, but I know that that's what they did, according to poll reports. But also, that's what President Trump said he was going to do. So he's going around all these places and then makes his final stop with the D.C. National Guard, law enforcement, feeds them, talks to them, thanks them, really showing that, hey, this is a big move that we're doing here, but it's a big move that is needed. And I think a lot of people sometimes, especially in the political world or arena, They think if there's a big move that's made, oh, there's something bad about that person. Let's call them some bad name. It's like, wait a minute. Again, back to my point from earlier today, past 20 minutes. These other presidents, they weren't the real deal. Obama, come on. Bush, please. President Trump is a real deal president. It's the first time in our lifetimes that we actually have someone that's saying, I'm really going to do this for the people. And he's doing it for himself too. I would work for myself too, in a way. I'd be like, hey, I want my family to be free. I want my family to have a great life. And the thing I think is really important to point out, and it's something that we all know, but it's good to kind of refresh, right? President Trump, he was already known. He was already famous. He's already wealthy. He's already, so he conquered all these things in life, which it takes a lot to do. He crushes it, right? Learns from all these different things. And part of failure is actually, I heard, a good thing sometimes, because you learn what you did wrong and you got to do it better next time, whatever. But many, many victories, many great things and I don't have to go through the whole history of President Trump's life, but man, he's conquered so many things. And so he already had the money, already had the fame, already had all that. And that's what these other guys, these other presidents like Bush, and then, he's following his father's footsteps. And then Obama, it's like, ooh, wow. And, Clinton, ooh. Like, what are you guys doing? You didn't do anything for our country. What did you do for our country compared to what President Trump has done? Let's be straight up about it on this lovely Monday, August 25th. I think I'm a little fired up because the mayor of Chicago saying things like, our city will rise up, or he said something in that kind of, I'm paraphrasing a bit, but about the whole National Guard thing. If the National Guard, the Illinois National Guard is dispatched to the streets of Chicago, that's not a bad thing. Do you like crime, Mayor Johnson? Do you actually like it? Is that why you don't want the National Guard to assist local law enforcement? I wonder what local law enforcement, if I was a patrol officer, Chicago PD in one of the districts or one of the neighborhoods, and I go and I know some of the people, the neighbors, and because you're in that district, right? If you asked a common sense cop, do you want the National Guard here to assist? He's going to say, or she's going to say, yes, sir. I want that. I want them here. Let's cut this down, this crime that's happening. Why wouldn't you want reinforcement? Why wouldn't you want more? If you are really, truly wanting to fight be a law enforcement officer, if you really want to be on the right side of history, you'd be like, hey, bring it on. Let's do this. So the mayor and the governor acting like this is a bad move makes no sense to me. Really makes no sense to me. I mean, we know why. Again, this is not about it's about politics, but the main root of it, it's good versus evil. It's all that junk that we have to face. And that's what we face in this country. We have people in leadership positions that need to be voted out and hopefully, restored. I was thinking about, what if we had a constitutional conservative, a real patriot as the mayor of Chicago or the governor of Illinois? Or the same in California. What would that be like? They'd be like, hey, bring on that National Guard. Let's get this thing taken care of and cleaned up. So anyway, we'll get to some more talking points in a little bit. It's the bottom of the hour, 9:28 Eastern time. We'll be seeing President Trump in about 32 minutes from now. As soon as we see that live feed, we'll take you there to the White House. Interesting to do the coverage from Studio B today. It's very, very interesting because it's a very podcast, broadcast, live feel, but then it's like the news, right? As we get Studio A renovated, it's great to be in Studio B because really this is one of the older sets at Right Side Broadcasting Network, but it's still fresh, still cool, still great. And I've seen a number of hosts live right here, so it's great to be a part of it today. And of course, Robert McNeely has his show 6 o'clock on Thursdays right here for the Voice of Reason. You'll be seeing Robert maybe later today if there's more coverage, but we know that he'll be back here in this seat tomorrow morning for any coverage. And then whenever Studio A is ready to go, which is going to be in the near future, we'll be over there live and we'll be rocking and rolling as we cover a number of things that are happening throughout our country. All right, let's go to Cove Pier, one of our great sponsors. So we know that Utah and Florida just passed bills to ban fluoride in the water supply. So the question is, why are all these states suddenly doing a massive U-turn on fluoride when they've been adding it to our water supply for the past 8 decades? Well, RFK Jr. Has been warning us about fluoride for a while now, and the government now admits to the fact that fluoride is linked to lower IQ. So in a study done by JAMA Pediatrics, it's one of those medical journals out there, scientists found that fluoride levels over 2 milligrams per liter of water caused more than a 2-point drop in children's IQ scores. So that's why we're proud to partner with Cove Pure. Cove Pure is a water filtration system that sits on your countertop. You don't have to drill any holes or call a plumber to set it up. You just fill it with tap water, plug it in, and get straight to work. So they have this ClearWave technology. It's certified to remove up to 99.9% of impurities in your water. So anything that isn't water, meaning fluoride, pharmaceuticals, and even forever chemicals, gets filtered out, leaving you with pure water. So once you try Cove Pure water, you're not going to go back to tap water. The best part is there's this touch screen, of course, that lets you choose whatever temperature you want, cold, hot, warm. It couldn't be easier. So if you happen to like fluoride, obviously that's fine. You can get that through toothpaste and mouthwash, but of course the government should never force you to ingest it. So you can take back your right to choose and use covepure.com/RSBN. Also, for a limited time only, you'll get a special discount of $200 off Cove Pure. Great stuff there. Great sponsor. And I'm always a big fan of places like Cove Pure because I don't know. Do you guys drink tap water? It's not that tasty and there's all this stuff in it. And Cove Pure is the way to go. So it's 9:31. Let's also go to mypillow.com/RSBN. Always fun to see a free shipping sale. Saving some dollars, but also getting quality products. There's more than 2,000 products there for you on mypillow.com/RSBN. The slippers, the slides, there's towels, there's sheets, there's the My Cross. There's obviously a ton of different sizes of pillows. There's just a lot to choose from. And of course, My Coffee, the dog beds, all sorts of stuff. So check it out. And if you'd like to order a few things and then get that free shipping sale, use that promo code RSBN. 9:32 this morning on this August 25th. That is a live picture there outside of the White House. So that is right behind that camera is the West Wing. That's where we're going to see President Trump a bit later today. We're going to see him twice today as of right now at this hour. We know that because let's just review. For those of you that just joined us, again, it's an honor to join you from Studio B as Studio A is getting worked on. Now, this is today's presidential schedule. So 10 o'clock, President Trump signs executive orders at the Oval Office. So we'll have that for you in about 28 minutes from now. At 12 o'clock, the president greets the president of the Republic of Korea, Lee Jae-myung. That's at 12 o'clock. We'll have a new broadcast that starts at 11 a.m. Eastern. So we're going to be here with you throughout the executive order signing. And then we'll go to a new broadcast, a new live stream link at 11 a.m. for the meeting between the president and the South Korean leader. At about 12:15, the president will participate in a bilateral meeting with the president of the Republic of Korea from the Oval Office. So that's what's happening in the two broadcasts today. That is the live picture at the stakeout location where we see a lot of various White House staff that stop by sometimes, do a quick press goggle, that kind of thing. And the whole thing that you see on the left there, those green awnings, that's where some of the mainstream media, some of the conservative media do their live shots. You see the White House in the background. Pretty cool stuff to see that live right now here on Right Side. Let's get back to a few videos as it's 9:33 this morning. In the 11 o'clock hour, if all works out, we'll have a live interview as well coming up. But until then, we're live right here, right now on Right Side at 9:33 Eastern Time. So let's do this. Let's shift gears. We talked a lot about Washington, D.C., a lot about crime, a lot about what's needed to make things safe in D.C. and Chicago and other places and why it's important. It's kind of, again, preaching to the choir and common sense, but sometimes common sense needs to be spoken about in just plain English, and you just tell it like it is from our perspectives, right? And so if you missed any of that, you can always replay this broadcast a bit later. Let's go to the inside of the Department of Interior, clip 5 with Doug Burgum.
This is Inside Interior. This week, Interior made major moves to strengthen America's energy future, protect taxpayer interests, and keep our nation's capital city safe. In line with President Donald Trump's directive to make Washington, D.C. safe again, the department unveiled new action to enforce law and order. The revised policies allow park police officers to once again pursue fleeing criminals, enforce a no-tolerance policy for homeless encampments, and ensure prosecution to the fullest extent for damage to federal property. Another directive enforces a zero-tolerance policy for soliciting for goods and sleeping on park grounds. President Trump and this administration are committed to ensuring that our law enforcement officers have the tools they need to keep D.C.'s federal lands clean, safe, and welcoming for everyone. The Department of the Interior also rolled out a long-term schedule for at least 30 offshore oil and gas lease sales in the Gulf of America and Alaska's Cook Inlet, all part of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. By committing to a clear and bolstered schedule, we're delivering on President Trump's promise to boost American energy production and support jobs, power homes, and strengthen our economy. We're also modernizing how oil and gas operations are regulated. The Bureau of Safety and Environmental Enforcement, along with the Bureau of Land Management, is updating commingling rules to align with the One Big Beautiful Bill Act and cut red tape around our oil industry. It's a win for American producers, taxpayers, tribes, and for American energy dominance. That's it for this edition of Inside Interior.
All right, so from the Department of the Interior, let's go back to Washington, D.C. If you're just joining us, we heard from Judge Jeanine Piro earlier. We actually have more from the judge. Check it out from Washington, D.C.
Hi, everyone. It's Judge Jeanine. I'm here in D.C., and it is Friday, August the 22nd. Last night, 40 criminal arrests, 5 guns seized as part of the surge of President Trump's attempt to make D.C. safe and beautiful. And it brings us to a total of 719 arrests since the president decided that he was going to bring in all of our federal partners to work with the Metropolitan PD. And it brings us up to 91 guns that have been taken off the street, with the additional 5 from last night. 91 guns that cannot be used now to shoot or harm other people. The best part about all this is when you talk to the people who live in D.C., they're comfortable going to dinner, they're comfortable going for a stroll. The show of force by President Trump is making the quality of life better for the people in the district. And, I want to remind you that this pretty much began with the attack on that ex-Doge person who was working at the White House, who was, as part of an attempted carjacking, pretty much beaten to a pulp. Well, I got news on that front as well. The 2 15-year-olds out of the 8 or 10 that attacked the ex-Doge staffer and his woman friend that he was with have been released from the family court, and they have been told that they are now on a curfew. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. This is why I want jurisdiction of these cases, because as a prosecutor, it's time to prosecute these individuals so they get and understand the consequences of what they have done. In the meantime, we are now 8 days without a homicide in the district. That is pretty stunning. We have 101 homicides so far this year. And for the last 5 or 6 months, we've had at least 1 homicide a week. And we haven't had any for the last 8 days. Now, why do you think that is? Do you think that what President is doing is having a positive effect? Because I do.
And we, the people, agree with Judge Jeanine Piro. President Trump deciding to have the D.C. National Guard out there. Again, Director, if we could pull up that photo of the National Guard and the fist bump with the one citizen there, because, this is what I think needs to be seen. It's the bottom picture there. This was just from the other day. These photos from the Department of Defense. Again, this is what is needed in D.C. I believe it's needed in every major city across the country. I know that might be, a big, thing to say, but really, Chicago, L.A., San Francisco, New York, Seattle, a number of other cities. I actually had a poll put out there. We'll get to that in a little bit, and it showed 53 of the top TV markets, right? So New York's 1, LA's 2, Chicago's 3, Philadelphia and Dallas go back and forth between 4 and 5. And it goes all the way down to 53. And 53, I believe, is New Orleans. So there's 53 large and medium-sized cities. And I looked at that TV market Nielsen list, and it looks like those cities would be great to have the National Guard there to help out with local law enforcement. I know, again, the left wouldn't even know what to do if that happened. But again, there are National Guardsmen and women at each of these states, or in each of these states. So in the case for Chicago, the Illinois National Guard, or Pennsylvania for Philadelphia, the Pennsylvania National Guard. These guys and gals are out there, and it's in the name. Guard the nation. But what are they guarding it from? This extreme crime that's happening. How many of you, if you guys went to a Phillies game in Philly, are you just going to be like, oh, let me just walk around, whatever, have your phone out, ladies have the purse out, whatever, it's all good. No worries. Chicago, same thing. San Francisco, same thing. Los Angeles, New York, same thing. You know what's on your mind. So that's what's cool about President Trump. He's saying, well, that's a fear or a thought for a lot of people. You don't want to have to second guess going to a baseball game in a major city. Atlanta as well. You don't want to have to ever be like, oh, it's safe there. Well, usually, yeah, you could think it's safe. And there's a lot of people that go to the games. And I'm not saying every time there's a crime or anything like that. But there are crimes that happen in the big cities. So what's wrong with having the National Guard help local law enforcement? Again, if I was a patrol officer, and by the way, my dad was a patrol officer. He was a detective. He would be all for the National Guard being there to assist. They're not there. They're there to enforce the law. They're not there to just randomly get somebody. And the randomly get somebody thing, well, Democrats would say, well, that's happening with ICE. Well, guess what? They're criminals because they're here illegally. And then they also have a rap sheet a mile long. Do you just like crime on the left? Really? You want to destroy our country? Nah, not on our watch. Not on President Trump's watch either. So this is what we want. We the people want it. And wait till you see that poll that I did. There are a lot of people that voted in favor of something. We'll show you that in just a second. And when I say something, I just mean law enforcement. Anyway, let's go to the next video here as it's 9:42. We're awaiting President Trump in about 18 minutes or so, or as soon as we see a live feed, we'll take you there to the White House. He's going to sign some executive orders. I believe what I've seen reports of is that this is about desecrating the United States flag, Old Glory, and penalties for anybody that burns the flag or that kind of thing. So that's going to be live, this whole Oval Office executive order signing. So looking forward to that. If you're just joining us, yes, we're in Studio B right now. This is where you see Robert McNeely on Thursday nights at 6 o'clock for The Voice of Reason. In Studio B, I know I've been saying it a lot, but I just wanted to let people know so you have an idea. So it's inside baseball. Renovating Studio A. So Studio A is under renovations. So we're here in Studio B, maybe for the entire week, maybe for longer, maybe less. But we'll see what happens. But we're glad to be here and bring you all of this live coverage. Let's get an update from the United States Department of State. That's clip 7. Clip 7.
Welcome to the Week at State. This week began with President Trump continuing to deliver on his commitment to broker peace around the world. After a historic meeting with Russian President Putin last week, President Trump hosted a groundbreaking peace summit with Ukrainian President Zelensky and key European allies at the White House, all in the pursuit of peace. Also this week, we saw Secretary Rubio continue in designating individuals associated with the ICC. America is making clear that we will not tolerate the ICC violating America's sovereignty and asserting jurisdiction they do not have over Americans. And all of that was on top of the hard work of diplomacy that takes place every single day here at the State Department under Secretary Rubio. The meetings with leaders, the policies presented, the ideas discussed. Every single day working to advance American interests in every way possible, and fundamentally putting America first and the American people first. Lastly, we want to acknowledge President Trump's announcement to nominate spokesperson Tammy Bruce as the Deputy Representative of the United States to the United Nations with the rank of Ambassador. As a leader and a patriot, Tammy has represented the State Department in interviews and briefings, and we look forward to her continued service on the global stage at the United Nations. And that was our week. We'll see you next time.
All right, the update from the Department of State. Before we get to some more videos and some more talking points as we get ready for the president, let's go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You want to be prepared, of course. You want the treatments your family might need before an emergency hits. So most pharmacies out there and insurance companies, they actually make that almost impossible with these gatekeepers and outrageous prices. But All Family Pharmacy is actually different. Here you can stock up on your essential medications, order exactly what you want, and keep it on hand so you're ready for anything. So while other pharmacies are raising prices, All Family Pharmacy has lowered theirs, giving you 25% off their most requested medications, ivermectin and mebendazole. Plus, you're going to get an extra 10% off with our promo code RSBN10. So they offer medications many providers refuse, like ivermectin, starting at just $2 per capsule. They also have hydroxychloroquine, mebendazole, methylene blue, antibiotics, antivirals, and more, all with a doctor's prescription included, and ordering is simple. So you just fill out your request online, a licensed doctor reviews it, and your medication shipped directly to your door in just a few days. So you can check them out. You'll get what you need right there at allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN and use code RSBN10 to save that extra 10% off. Also, if you want to drop some extra pounds and boost the energy levels out there or reduce swelling in your legs and feet, then you'll love these two American-made health supplements. First is Liver Health Formula. It's brought to you by Pure Health. So fat deposits in the liver can pile on the pounds and make you feel tired, but Liver Health Formula helps reduce fat deposits with nutrients like artichoke extract and milk thistle. So in a customer survey, almost 60% of people reported better weight management and 87% reported more energy. So next also is lymph system support. The natural ingredients in the lymph system support, say that 3 times fast, help gently flush extra fluid and toxins out of the body, which can help reduce swelling in the legs and feet. So, and right now, for this limited time, you can get that 35% off the Liver Health Formula and lymph system support, along with a 45 plus health supplements that you guys can check out at the Pure Health Research website. They have a lot to offer there. Head over to purehealthresearch.com. Use that RSBN promo code at checkout. That's purehealthresearch.com with that coupon code RSBN to save, get this, 35% off. This sounds like something I'd like to try. Who doesn't want to have better weight management and all of that? So it looks like a great supplement there. purehealthresearch.com. It's 9:47 Eastern time as we await the President of the United States coming up in just a minute. That's going to be about 13 minutes to be exact from now. Let's go and get an update from the White House on the 2026 World Cup. Clip 8.
Obviously, this is so exciting with the 45th and 47th President of the United States announcing that on December 5th,
here in Washington, D.C. at the Kennedy Center, the final draw of the FIFA World Cup 2026 will take place. The final will be in New York, New Jersey, and in between we'll have 104 Super Bowls in a little bit more than 1 month to determine the team which will be world champion.
What a way to really kick off the excitement for so many people. This is a great opportunity, I think, for the United States of America to show off our real true greatness of our first 250 years of America and the hope and promise of the next 250 years of America. And there's no better, more consummate host than Donald J. Trump.
I think it was great that the president wore a MAGA red, Trump was right about everything hat right there in front of the mainstream media, some of us in the conservative media there. So it was great to see that. And also, you know, not sporting a tie, wearing the hat, doing a sports style of event and announcement. But again, it just shows the unprecedented real deal president that we have in the office. And tell me one person that's perfect other than Jesus, right? You know what I mean? So all I can say is it's great to cover President Trump as it's 9:49. Let's do this. Let's go to Carolyn Levitt now. She has the MAGA Minute for us. Clip 9.
Law and order, push-ups, and the pursuit of peace. Let's break it all down in another jam-packed MAGA Minute. The president traveled to Alaska to meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin before hosting a productive summit here at the White House with Ukrainian President Zelensky, the NATO secretary, the president of the European Commission, and heads of state from the United Kingdom, Italy, Finland, Germany, and France, all to further efforts to end the Russia-Ukraine war. Foreign leaders have since remarked that more progress toward peace has been made in the last 2 weeks than in the past 3 years under Joe Biden. All we needed, clearly, was a new president. The president's initiative to make D.C. safe again has resulted in well over 600 arrests, including arrests of an MS-13 gang member, the seizure of illegal firearms and drugs off of the streets of our nation's capital. As a matter of fact, since President Trump began his crackdown on crime in D.C., all crime is down 9%, and violent crime is down 41% when compared to the 10 days before the president's executive actions. Additionally, carjackings are down 83%, robberies are down 58%, murders are down 50%, motor vehicle thefts are down 33%, and assaults with dangerous weapons are down 27%. The president on Thursday went to greet and thank the men and women undergoing this historic effort to make our nation's capital safe and beautiful again. And the vice president, J.D. Vance, visited Union Station to visit troops keeping our nation's capital safe and took some protesters to school. HHS Secretary Bobby Kennedy and Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth started quite the trend this week, encouraging other members of the cabinet and Americans like you across the country to participate in the Pete and Bobby Challenge. The challenge is 100 push-ups and 50 pull-ups in under 10 minutes. Can you do it? We want to see you try. And lastly, you should follow the White House on TikTok, where you will find some must-see content. It was another very busy week here at the White House. We will see you for next week for another very busy MAGA Minute.
Ton of content right there by Carolyn Levitt. So great to see that. About 8 minutes away from the 10 o'clock hour on the East Coast. Those of you waking up on the West Coast, thanks so much for joining us. Those of you watching the Central Time Zone, the Mountain Time Zone, hey, we're here for you. I'm glad you're with us as we are working on the Studio A, and we are here in Studio B today, covering the White House, and looking forward to seeing President Trump a bit later, about 8 minutes from now. Again, there are 2 broadcasts today. The first one's all about the executive orders signing by President Trump. The second broadcast will start at 11 a.m. Eastern. That'll be for the president as he is meeting the leader of South Korea. So we'll have all of that in the second broadcast starting at 11 a.m. Again, thank you guys for streaming in on this RSBN live stream broadcast. All right, so a few more videos to get to as we are live right now at 9:52. All right, so the Department of Homeland Security talking about promises made, promises kept. They're doing a great job out there. I mean, ICE, the mass deportation operation, though the left is like, what are you doing? These are illegal aliens that have committed crimes. What do you do? Like, why are you creating Alligator Alcatraz? And why are you creating there's 2 other ones, right? There's one in Indiana. There's one in Nebraska that are being created right now, these facilities. I'll try and remember the names of them. I know that the Indianapolis one, or the Indy one, I'll get to it in a minute. But the point is yeah, why are you guys deporting people that are committing crimes? Why do you want the National Guard to come here to my city and help with local law enforcement and cut down on crime? That's what the left's saying, right? It's so annoying, isn't it? I'm annoyed by even sounding the way I just did. Ugh. It's weakness. And speaking of weakness, Zohran Mamdani, come on, man. 135 pounds, you can't bench that? And if you don't know what I'm talking about, just check out the New York Post report over the weekend. Mamdani's out there, without the suit jacket on, with a tie on, right? And he's just trying to bench press 135 pounds. If you don't know what that looks like, it's a 45-pound bar, right? I think, or whatever. And 2 45-pound weights on the sides. If you can't lift 135, bro, I don't know, man. You're already weak. You're already a communist. You're already against our country, but you can't even, like, come on, man, really? I don't even really work out, and I can still do that. Anyway, enough of that weakness. Ugh. Who likes weakness? Nobody does. That's why we voted for President Trump. All right, anyway, so let's do this. Did we just go to the DHS promises made, promises kept? I think we did. Yes. Okay, we haven't? All right, so let's go to that. Let's go to the Department of Homeland Security talking about promises made, promises kept. Clip 10.
President Trump will have been in the White House and in charge of this country for 7 months. And in this first 7 months, he has accomplished some unprecedented things for the security and the safety of all American citizens. As you know, when he campaigned to get elected as President of the United States, he promised the American people that he would secure our border. He would ensure that the invasion of the illegal criminals that were coming into our country under the Biden administration would be stopped, and that he would do all that he could to restore the safety to our American communities. And he has done exactly that. In fact, today we have the most secure U.S. border that we've ever had in the history of this nation.
All right, so it's 9:55. I'm laughing because that's a great video, but I saw a comment on Truth Social. It says, no to the beard. No to the beard, they say. Hey, the director just said they like it. And again, only sporting the beard because it just worked out that we are in Studio B today. This is more of a kind of a rustic kind of feel here. I like this look. But also, Studio A is being renovated. So when Studio A is renovated, I'll do a fresh shave, put the tie back on. This isn't permanent. But who knows? What if a bunch of people are like, hey, I like the beard? You know what? I don't think many people care, to be honest with you. Let's just keep rocking and rolling. 9:56 Eastern. Let's go to that photo of the D.C. National Guard again. These are the photos that the mainstream media just simply doesn't want you to see. So it's going to be one, again, the fist bump between the National Guardsman in D.C. and the citizen at the bottom there. You know, these are the photos right here. You can check them out at Matthew Alvarez on Truth Social if you'd like. But these are the photos that the mainstream media, they're not going to show that bottom one. They're not going to show a white guy and a black lady being like, hey, what's up? Thanks for being like doing great. They want division. They don't want anything connected. They don't want our country to be saved and restored and safe and on the right, side of history. So anyway, those are some of the photos there. We're going to get to some more videos in just a minute. Let's go to Tax Network USA. Tax Network USA, 800-357-1415. You can settle your back taxes today. tnusa.com/RSBN. Of course, if you're looking for just some peace of mind and just to get some of maybe the back taxes, maybe you missed one of the years or maybe a few years, this great patriotic group will help you out. So really, give them a call, 800-357-1415 is the number. You can check them out first if you want online, tnusa.com/RSBN. Great sponsor right here at Right Side. Same thing with Monetary Gold. Monetary Gold is saying that the fact that Bank of America is actually just announcing that the United States dollar is on the verge of collapse. So think about that. Your savings, your retirement, your paycheck, all losing value faster than ever. History tells us that when paper money fails, precious metals win. Gold and silver have been the ultimate store of value for more than 5,000 years. So that's why now is the time to call Monetary Gold, the trusted name in physical gold and silver. They'll show you how to protect your retirement savings before it's too late. So there's two numbers you can call. There's the 800 number on your screen, or you can call 888-617-7994 or visit rsbnforthegold.com today. Don't wait for the collapse to happen. Be ready before it does. All right, so that's Monetary Gold, a wonderful sponsor here at the network. As we move on, a couple minutes out from the top of the hour, my wife just texted me because we were just talking about no to the beard. She says, quote, no to the beard, laughing out loud, well, your wife thinks it's hot, exclamation point. Thank you, lady. Love you so much. I was going to say your first name there, but I said lady instead because I don't put all the private stuff out there. But anyway, thank you so much, honey, for saying that. She's the one that said, hey, you know what, just keep the beard. You know, we're in the Studio B, just go for it. So here, anyway. All right, no teleprompter, just rolling with it, guys. We've got about a minute until we see the president live from the Oval Office. So we're going to see the executive orders being signed by President Donald J. Trump. As soon as we see that live feed, we'll go to it in just a second. All right, so the D.C. National Guard photos, the mainstream media doesn't want you to see it. We just saw that. But check this out. Should the National Guard be called in to assist local law enforcement in the following cities? 53 cities across America. So that's that part. Now, what I'm looking for, guys, I'm not sure if you can get it quick or not, but this is the poll. So there's a post on my Truth Social for the poll. This is the latest poll percentages. I'm going to click it and just show it to you here in the sense of report what the poll is saying at this point. For some reason, my Truth Social is logged out, so I can't do that. But it's about 98% of people are saying we want them in all these cities. Isn't that wild? About 98% of the people polled on that poll that's there. You can check it out at Matthew Alvarez if you'd like. And it's everything from New York to Philly, Chicago, Dallas, Austin, Louisville, Buffalo, Providence. And even if it's just, 20 National Guardsmen and women, or if it's 200 or more, whatever. Again, this is all about law and order and keeping our country safe and protecting our citizenry. So that is a responsibility of our law enforcement, but also our president, because he is the top cop. He's the chief law enforcement officer. President Trump said that just the other day. So we are for, at least a lot of people are, at least the ones that follow me on Truth. And I know that a lot of people that would follow someone like me on Truth, because I'm on the right side of history at Right Side Broadcasting Network, conservative, all that kind of thing. So I know that those are the kind of people that would follow, and thank you guys for following. But yeah, who doesn't want more safety out there? That's really what we're looking for. It's 10:01, Monday, August 25th. We can go to a few more videos as we await President Trump. They're live at the Oval Office. Again, he'll be signing executive orders today. As soon as we see that live feed, we'll bring it to you. In the meantime, let's go to the United States Northern Command military video, clip 13. A lot of these, obviously, some of them quick videos, some longer videos, but these are all some of the freshest 24/7 news cycle videos from various parts of our government, really to show you what's going on out there. And speaking of the military, let's go over to the military veterans that are out there. The Veterans Affairs Secretary, Doug Collins, he recently delivered a speech. Here's a 2-minute clip of that.
When you get to an organization like the VA, they put you in this nice office, and it's a nice office. Anybody want to come up to D.C., come see me. I'll be happy to show you my office. It's your office, not mine. I'll show it to you. But they want me to sit in this office, Al. In a Georgian, that's just tough. So I sit in that office, and I look around. They give me the reports. Carol, and here's the report, sir. What do you think about this? I said, well, that's nice. And then they give me another report, and they have this all brandished out, and they do the PowerPoints. And about 1 page through the PowerPoint, I stop them. Now, the first month or so, this was causing panic among the VA. Because instead of asking and just listening to the report and receiving the report and saying, well, that is very nice, let's continue to do the things we've always done at the VA, I became the greatest 4-year-old in the world again. Because they would tell me something and I would say, why? Why? And just about like this room right now, y'all are scared too because it was crickets. They didn't know. I love you guys up here, but I'm tired of this. When they don't understand that there is an issue, when there is time, because I come out, and when I said why, I didn't mean why are you here. I meant why are we doing what we're doing. I'm tired of watching a VA, an organization that is the greatest. I think healthcare can be the greatest healthcare organization in the world. It is the largest. But every time we keep doing stuff the same way, and getting the same results and wondering, Well, that's just the way it is. I'm telling you right now, I'm not a VA secretary who's committed to the same old, same old. I'm committed to a VA that is the largest healthcare system, that is the largest provider of benefits, and we're going to act like it, and we're going to become the standard for what everybody else in the healthcare ought to be, because I'm not going to settle for just getting by anymore. Our veterans deserve so much more.
Looking more like a church service at that point, but it's great to hear the content from the Veterans Affairs Secretary Doug Collins. It's nice to kind of let the hair down a little bit, and he went off that stage there and shared a lot with the American people. As we're waiting President Trump from the Oval Office to sign some executive orders, we look forward to bringing you that live coverage. In the meantime, let's go to another update from the Department of Homeland Security, clip 15.
This is Micah Bach, Deputy Assistant Secretary at the Department of Homeland Security. Under the leadership of President Trump and Secretary Noem, DHS has turned the tide of crime that was sweeping through Washington, D.C. and reversed the decline of our nation's capital. While mainstream journalists write angry articles from posh homes far from violent streets, our federal law enforcement officers are on the ground, arresting criminals and defending American citizens. Violent crime in the district is down 35%. In just 9 days. Robberies have been cut in half, and for the first time in a long time, no one was murdered in D.C. last week. Parents are walking their children to school again. Our streets are clean. Homeless encampments have been cleaned up, and our capital is on its way to becoming a beacon of national pride once more. This week, Secretary Noem joined President Trump on the streets of D.C., working alongside law enforcement who are clearing out violent criminals and sending a very clear message. If you break our laws, we will find you. The residents of D.C. should be able to live without fear and walk their streets in safety. The President and Secretary Noem care deeply for the citizens of our capital, and together, we're giving them back their city. This week, in New Mexico, Secretary Noem stood alongside families hit by devastating floods, heard their stories, and provided them with the resources they need to rebuild. Under President Trump's direction, federal emergency management is delivering real help fast. Millions of dollars in aid, over 160 staff on the ground, working tirelessly until this community is rebuilt. This is a government that cares, that acts, that puts Americans first. Just south, at our border, the big beautiful wall stands tall, now being painted black as a scorching symbol of our national resolve. Too hot for criminals, cartels, or illegal aliens to even think about crossing. For the last 3 months, no illegals have been permitted entry into our country, while record-breaking statistics show over 1.6 million illegal aliens have left. These numbers will only increase. And in Nebraska, the Cornhusker Clink is open. Hundreds of beds to detain and swiftly deport those who break our laws. This revitalization of our nation's capital is a small example of a larger national revival sweeping America. This is a time for greatness. President Trump and Secretary Noem are leading with strength, courage, and an unyielding love for this nation. Our citizens shouldn't face fear every time they walk out their front door. Safety shouldn't be arbitrarily based upon the neighborhood you happen to live in. Americans deserve safe streets, and under the leadership of President Trump and Secretary Noem, we are finally making America safe again. We'll see you next week.
All right, 10:08 Eastern Time. Looking forward to some more videos as we get ready to see President Trump from the Oval Office there. We'll bring you that live coverage of the executive order signings. And then on top of that, he may, have that Q&A with a number of reporters. And then on top of that, at 11 a.m., we'll start another broadcast. That'll be for the president's meeting with the South Korean leader. And then we'll be seeing him in the Oval Office as well with that leader, and maybe another round of questions from reporters. So a lot of things going on right here at the beginning of the week here, Monday, August 25th. In the meantime, let's do this. Let's go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You want to be prepared, of course. You want the treatments your family might need before, heaven forbid, an emergency does hit. But most pharmacies and insurance companies make that almost impossible with gatekeepers and outrageous prices. So All Family Pharmacy, they're different. Here you can stock up on your essential medications, order exactly what you want, keep it on hand so you're ready for anything. While other pharmacies are raising prices, All Family Pharmacy has lowered theirs, giving you, get this, 25% off their most requested medications, ivermectin and mebendazole. Plus, you'll get an extra 10% off with our promo code RSBN10. So they offer medications many providers refuse, like ivermectin, which my family and I, my wife and I, were fans of that stuff. It's starting at just $2 per capsule with All Family Pharmacy. They also have hydroxychloroquine, mebendazole, methylene blue, antibiotics, antivirals, and more, all with a doctor's prescription included. So ordering is simple. Fill out your request online. A licensed doctor reviews it, and your medications ship directly to your door in just a few days. So you can check them out. You'll definitely find something you need. Go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Use that RSBN10 promo code to save that extra 10%. Great group of people and a great organization, great company, allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN, 10:10 a.m. Let's go to Kalshi.com. If you'd like to bet or trade or check out a bunch of polls on all sorts of stuff out there, I know sports is starting to ramp back up when it comes to the pigskin with football, but there's baseball, of course, and there's other sports out there that'll be ramping up shortly. But other than sports, there's science, technology, politics, faith, weather, all sorts of real specific questions, too, that you can either bet, trade, or just check out the polls, see what they're like. Go to Kalshi.com/RSBN. Great sponsor here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's 10:10. You see two live pictures there. One of the White House, of course, looking at the beautiful American flag outside of the front door there, the northern lawn. On the south lawn, another flag. On top of the White House, a flag. Speaking of flags, what we're seeing is that the executive order signing we're about to see will be talking about penalties for those that desecrate the United States flag. Old Glory, our great American flag, and which stands for so much. I remember posting something just the other day on Truth. I spoke about this last week too, but there was I was at one of the department stores. I was parking, getting just some products, whatever, and then the Jeep had the American flag on the gas can, and I took a photo of it. I said, no matter where I see the flag, I'm just so grateful for our country. It stands for so much. And we're going to see here with President Trump speaking about that, but maybe some other executive orders. We'll see as we know that there are executive order signings happening any minute from now. So as soon as we see a live feed, we'll take you there. And then again, at 11 a.m., we'll have a new live stream feed for you to click on. Once you click on that, we'll be live going into our second part of coverage today as the Korean leader of South Korea will be there meeting with President Trump. So we'll have that all for you right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. We've been live since, what time, 9 this morning. So we've been going on for about an hour and 12 minutes. We have a lot of news we've been covering, and of course, a lot of videos that we've played over the past hour and 12 minutes. So thanks so much for joining us as we are live again in Studio B. Studio A, getting that renovation. So let's go to President Trump's Truth Social. This is a great, great post. All of them are great, but this one's great because it has to do with the media. He says there, despite a very high popularity and, according to many, among the greatest 8 months in presidential history, ABC and NBC fake news, two of the worst and most biased networks in history, give me 97% bad stories. If that is the case, they are simply an arm of the Democrat Party and should, according to many, have their licenses revoked by the FCC. I would totally be in favor of that because they are so biased and untruthful, an actual threat to our democracy, MAGA. And the thing I really like about that post is the word untruthful. Because we know in newspapers, in online editorials, in TV, and radio, there's news reporting, then there's also an op-ed, opinion editorial. We see that on all the cable networks. We see that in mainstream media. You see that in conservative media. And the thing that's interesting is we bring up a statement, maybe a true statement, which would be the D.C. National Guard has been dispatched to Washington, D.C. The crime numbers are lower. And then we would insert our opinion and say, hey, that's great. That's awesome to see that. But the point is common sense, truthful reporting. What's really the truth, right? What's really happening out there versus untrue reporting, saying, oh, the numbers, no, those aren't the correct numbers, or people don't want the DC National Guard there. But that's not what the truth is. I've seen the local reports out of Washington. The residents are saying, hey, we want the crime to go down. This is great. And if you ask any law enforcement officer that was at that event just last week with President Trump, Judge Jeanine Piro, and others, if I was a patrol officer out there, I'd be saying, hey, thank you, bring it on, you know? And on top of that, when the National Guard, when will they, you know, come back and not be on the streets? I don't know. I like that they're out there, and I think it should expand to many cities across the country. But think about the thought pattern of any criminal that might be out there. They might be thinking, oh, wait a minute. The National Guard was out here. They might not be. Are they around still? I mean, look at the numbers. They have just dropped off in D.C. because they don't want to get messed with. Because here's the key point. They know that President Donald J. Trump means business. No matter where you're from, no matter what you look like, no matter what you're into, President Trump means business. And he's out there and being like, hey, this is how this is going to roll. The sheriff is in town. He is the top law enforcement officer. He's the chief law enforcement officer. President Trump called himself that, and it's the truth. And so that's what's happening. And then what happens, again, if you've been with us since 9 a.m., we were talking about Chicago earlier. The mayor of Chicago, Brandon Johnson, and Jelly Belly Pritzker, as Robert McNeely so rightly calls the governor of Illinois, they don't want Trump and his National Guard there. They want crime to keep on keeping on. I guarantee you, if I was on assignment in Chicago, I would talk to residents, I would talk to police officers. And how I would do it, I wouldn't record it. I would just talk to them as a citizen of this country. And I'd say, what do you think about that? What do you think about the Guard being here? I can guarantee that residents and the local law enforcement, let's do it. Bring it on. Who would say, no, it's only political people that would be like, no, it's because it has to do with President Trump. That's the only reason why. I don't know. It's just, it's really ridiculous to see that. Anyway, so I put a post out there on Truth Social the other day talking about who's worse, the governor of California and the mayor of Los Angeles, or the governor of Illinois and the mayor of Chicago. A lot of people said it was Newsom and Bass in California. I don't know where. I think the jury's still out. I think that because there hasn't been so much coverage with Chicago and Pritzker and Johnson, I think that's going to ramp up this week because they're already out there talking. Drudge Report's out there saying, showing the AP headlines, stay out of our city. Stay out of our city. Are you guys smoking crack? You probably are, because why in the world would you say stay out of our city? You have to understand that if people are visiting, say you're in Wisconsin, say you're like, honey, let's go to the Chicago Cubs game. And she might be like, no, there's crime that happens all over the place. It's got to be safer than that. And I'm sure the people of Chicago are saying, hey, well, we have to cut down on the crime. Everybody knows that Chicagoland is not the safest place in the world. Well, guess what? It can be if we have the National Guard there. I just don't understand. It's common sense. It is literally light versus darkness, truth versus lies. I just don't understand it. Indirectly, I do, because I know it's good versus evil, and that's really at the root of all of this. But anyway, I digress, as they say. It's 10:18 Eastern. Let's do this. Let's go back to that DC video from the top of the broadcast. Let's go to clip, let's see, I think it's clip 1. Where President Trump visits with D.C. law enforcement and the D.C. National Guard. Again, as we go to various videos, we will always cut live no matter what's going on. If it's a live feed to the Oval Office and we see President Trump signing some executive orders, we'll cut right to it. But in the meantime, let's go to clip 1.
You people are winners, and I just think it's such an honor to be with you. And we're going to make Washington, D.C. great again. We're making our country great again. The country is very close to being great. When they say it's the hottest country in the world, they mean it. And this capital is right now, after 4 days, 5 days, it's at a level that you haven't seen in a long time, and it's all because of you. So I want to thank you all very much. It's an honor to be with you, and we'll always be with you. We're going to be with you for as long as I'm around. You're going to be treated as nobody more important, and thank you all very much for being here. Thank you. Thank you very much. Doug, would you like to say something? Thank you, everybody.
So, of course, if you'd like to watch all of that coverage, you saw Doug Burgum there about to speak. You can watch that. We also heard from Judge Jeanine Piro in Washington, D.C. These are the kind of people that I want leading the country. I don't want weak sauce type people like we had last term. Unfortunately, we saw what happened in 2020. But, you know, it's great to have strength. Instead of weakness, there's strength. Instead of chaos, there is security and safety and moving forward for our country. So wonderful to see that as we await the president there. It's 10:19. Matthew Alvarez, thanks so much for joining us live here in Studio B as we work on the other studio and get the renovations going for that. But I will say this, it's wonderful. Again, it's an honor to be in this studio right here. Where before working at Right Side, I was working some freelance here early on in 2022, September 3rd of 2022, and I saw some of our hosts in this actual studio. I've never been live in this one. And to be honest with you, also, like, I've always been, that news guy at a news desk and a tie and a clean shave and all that. And for it to be more of this kind of set, I never have done this before. It's kind of cool to give it a shot and see how it's going, and hope you like it. But regardless of all that, we're looking forward to seeing the Commander-in-Chief at the Oval Office signing these executive orders. Let's do this. Let's go to Judge Jeanine Piro. For those of you that didn't see this video earlier, clip 2, she was alongside President Trump last week in Washington. Again, this is great. Think about it. If you worked in D.C. National Guard, or if you were law enforcement in Washington, and the Commander-in-Chief shows up, and people from the DOJ, when it comes to Judge Jeanine Piro and others there, I believe Pam Bondi was there and others, that's an encouraging thing. This isn't that they just, came in some office, and they're all, in an office. They were out there in front of all of these people and saying, hey, thank you for what you're doing. And let's let Judge Jeanine Piro take it from there in clip 2.
I just want to say thank you to all of you. Every night when you hit the street, you make a difference, not just for us, but for everyone in the district. They are grateful for what you do. They are thankful. And I am making sure that we back the blue to the hilt. Every arrest you make, we're going to the longest way to make sure that we charge in those cases. So God bless you and thank you for what you do. You're making a difference. And Mr. President, without you, no one would even have tried. So thank you.
Mr. President, without you, no one would have even tried. End quote. That's a quote from the judge there. And isn't that the truth? I was talking about that earlier. We have a real deal president. I'll bring up the same talking point from about an hour ago. For those of you just joining, I was thinking about, when I saw President Trump, I think it was on Friday, when he was talking about the 2026 FIFA World Cup. And President Trump had the Trump was right about everything hat on. He wasn't wearing his, classic red tie or any tie. He just had, the suit flow with the hat. I was thinking, I wonder what George W. Bush and Obama and Bill Clinton, these so-called presidents back in the day, what are they thinking when they see this guy? What do they really think? Do they realize, oh man, that's what a real president looks like. That's what somebody that's on the right side of history looks like. That's what common sense looks like. That's somebody that's not in the uniparty. That's somebody that's doing it for the right reasons. Oh man, I didn't do that. Who knows if they're thinking those thoughts? I'm not going to get into their heads, but I just wondered what they would be thinking when President Trump is ripping it like he does. When he tells it like it is in front of the mainstream media, like he does, day in and day out. All right, so on top of all of that, there's two things that I'd like to say. One, we know that with the Russia hoax, that the DOJ has opened a criminal investigation into the bad actors in that. So receipts and evidence, the court of law will play out the way it's going to. And also with the Epstein files, when it comes to the DOJ, just recently they released all these tapes with Ghislaine Maxwell. So we're looking for truth and transparency. We're looking for all of the 20 core promises that President Trump and the RNC promised all of us to happen. And we've already seen a number of those 20 core promises come to fruition. Number one is to seal the border. Number two, mass deportation operation. There's a bunch of things in that 20 core promises. One of them is securing our elections with, paper ballots, same-day voting, and all of that. President Trump recently speaking about elections as well on Truth Social. I'm sure Mike Lindell is jumping for joy because I know that he said on his last time he was with us in the broadcast just a couple weeks ago that he has been at the White House speaking about some of this stuff with the team there. So, and other people that we know as well that have been on this broadcast speaking about the election and securing our elections moving forward even more. So we don't have to have mottos and sayings like too big to rig, which is still a great motto, great slogan. And I really think, again, that midterm election coming up next November, we should treat it as we the people, we should treat it as a massive, massive, maybe presidential style election. The Senate and the House staying in on the right side of history so we could have a full 3.5+ years. At that point, it'll be, 2 years of President Trump and his agenda. Again, it's the 20 core promises. We know the playbook. And for those of you that like sports out there, I used to play quarterback. I understand a playbook, not all the playbooks, though, by the way. I'll tell you about that in a second. But it's 10:25 Eastern. We're getting ready for President Trump to sign those executive orders on the president's schedule. Let's go over that before we get to some more of the videos here on Right Side. We know that at 10 o'clock, it was scheduled for the executive orders to be signed. So as soon as we see a live picture, we'll take you there. The president is greeting the president of the Republic of Korea, Lee Jae-myung. That's at 12 o'clock Eastern. That will be on a new broadcast link. Unless all of this runs together, I'm not sure if we'll be switching the link or not. We'll see what happens. So at 12 o'clock, you just stay with us. I'll let you know what the next thing to do is. So at 12 o'clock, the president greets the Republic of Korea, Lee Jae-myung. At 12:15, there will be a bilateral meeting. Just like we see all the world leaders when we have various coverage here at the network, you'll see both leaders inside the Oval Office. We're going to watch that live together. And then on top of that, we'll hear any of the press questions back and forth when it comes to the executive orders that are about to happen, if the president opens it to the press. And then on top of that, that second time we'll see the president today with the world leader meeting, he may open it to the press at that point as well. So we'll have all of that here for you live on Right Side Broadcasting Network on this Monday, August 25th. All right, I'm going to quickly talk about this and we'll move back into the news of the day and more videos. But I know that college football just started. It's getting really into the swing of things in the next couple of weeks, the NFL as well. And I was talking about playbooks, right? The White House playbook to me is the 20 core promises to the American people. These are defend the Constitution and seal the border and to make us energy independent again and securing elections and no men and women's sports and all that, right? Well, I do know that maybe in high school, it's an easier playbook to understand, right? And in some colleges, as a quarterback, you learn these different plays. Well, I had a coach at Robert Morris University who was the Jets coach, Joe Walton. For those of you that remember the name Joe Walton, he also was an offensive coordinator for the Steelers. Well, Joe Walton has since passed away, but he was my coach back in the day, and I was a high school quarterback, got there to Robert Morris Division I AA. I can throw pretty well. I'm slow as molasses. I can't run that fast, but I could throw pretty good. Shotgun formation, that kind of thing. But he used the Jets offensive playbook for our offensive system for the Colonials NCAA Division I AA. And so I had to learn this whole playbook that was professional NFL quarterback type of thing. And I'm this high school kid coming in there being like, okay, it's down, go out, go up. If you've ever played fall football out there, throw the ball, right? Well, anyway, so it was quite the learning curve. Let's just put it this way. After the third year, the love for the game kind of went down, and I got more into TV and that kind of thing in college. And then worked in mainstream media for a number of years. And then, of course, September 3rd, 2022. The rest is history. Joined conservative media, Right Side Broadcasting Network, and have been here since. So just a quick personal note talking about playbooks, because we know that, again, the White House playbook is perfect. The 20 core promises to the American people are awesome. Defending the Constitution and then ending the weaponization of government against the people. There's so many great points in that. So if you want to check that 20 core promises out, I have that on my Truth Social at Matthew Alvarez. It's also on the White House page, but I believe it's also at donaldjtrump.com, just to check out the platform. Again, this isn't just because, hey, we're a fan of President Trump, or hey, we're a fan of a Republican. It's more, we're a fan of truth. We're a fan of common sense. And that's what President Trump and the right side of history stands for. So we're believing for those things to come to fruition here as we await the president, as it's the bottom of the hour, 10:30. If you just joined us, yes, we're in Studio B right now. Yes, I'm not wearing a tie. No, I didn't shave, but that's all right. Studio A is getting renovated, so we're going to be in Studio B for a little bit of time. We'll see when Studio A is ready to go, and we'll get back at it in Studio A. But you can count on the same kind of coverage from this side on this studio, because really at the end of the day, what we're doing is facilitating these pre-shows, these live broadcasts, to bring you the unedited live version of what's happening out there, because we know that most mainstream networks, like tonight's ABC News at 6 o'clock, they're not going to have this entire live broadcast when it comes to President Trump's entire executive order signing. It's going to be like 2 minutes, and the anchor at ABC is going to throw it to a correspondent. They're going to talk 2 minutes about a bunch of crap like, hey, Chicago doesn't want the National Guard there, even though the residents are probably saying, yeah, we do. It's only Mayor Johnson that doesn't. And then they'll be like, oh, and by the way, President Trump signed an order today about not to desecrate the United States flag. And that's all you'll get. Will you get all the question and answer session that we're going to have here live? You're not going to get it with the mainstream media. We'll get back to President Trump's Truth Social post about the mainstream media in just a minute. If you're just joining us, as it's 10:30, we've been live since 9 this morning. Let's go to angelpaste.com as we wait for the president. You could use the RSBN promo code, of course. There's a lot of products on angelpaste.com. You've got the Miracle Cream and other products as well out of Spring, Texas. Of course, a great company that hires military veterans, longtime sponsor here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. Let's also go to another sponsor as we await the President of the United States. So Utah and Florida just passed bills to ban fluoride in the water supply. So why are all these states suddenly doing that massive U-turn on fluoride when they've been adding it to our water for the last 8 decades? Well, RFK Jr. has been warning us about fluoride for a while, and the government now admits to the fact that fluoride is linked to lower IQ. So in a study done by JAMA Pediatrics, one of those medical journals out there, scientists actually found that fluoride levels over 2 milligrams per liter of water caused more than a 2-point drop in children's IQ scores. That's why we're proud to partner with Cove Pure. Cove Pure is a water filtration system that sits on your countertop. You don't have to drill any holes or call a plumber to set it up. Just fill it with tap water, plug it in, and it gets straight to work. They have this clear wave technology. It's certified to remove up to 99.9% of impurities in your water. So anything that's not water, meaning fluoride, pharmaceuticals, even forever chemicals, gets filtered out, leaving you with pure water. So once you try Cove Pure water, you're never going back. It makes it easy to know that it's tap water versus Cove Pure. You definitely will like Cove Pure better. The best part is it has this touch screen as well. Lets you choose whatever temperature you want. Cold, hot, warm. It couldn't be easier. And if you happen to like fluoride, that's totally fine. You can get that through toothpaste and mouthwash, but the government, of course, should never force you to ingest it. So you can take back your right to choose. Click below, covepure.com/RSBN. For a limited time only, you'll get a special discount of $200 off Cove Pure, as it's 10:33 Eastern Time, Monday, August 25th. All right, so we know that the president's schedule listed at 10 a.m. there would be the executive order signing. So as soon as we see that, we'll take you there. And then we'll have a new live stream broadcast that will start at 11 a.m., possibly a little bit later, depending how long this one goes, for the next thing that's happening today. And I'll get to that right now, where the president will greet the president of the Republic of Korea, Lee Jae-myung. and then the two will have a meeting at the Oval Office. We'll bring you all of that live coverage. Let's do this. Let's take a quick break. If we do see any live feed from the Oval Office, we'll cut even through the break right to President Trump. But let's take a quick break. We'll be right back here on RSBN Live.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You can scan that QR code now, RSBN10. That is the code, easy to remember, for 10% off. This is ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, antibiotics that will save you and yours from bacterial and viral infections, NAD+, and much, much more. 200 essential medications and emergency medical kits, the meds you trust delivered to your door.
All right, welcome back. It's 10:35, Monday, August 25th. I'm Matthew Alvarez here on RSBN Live. Thanks so much for joining us. What we're going to do now, as we await the President of the United States, what we're going to do is you're going to see the other studio, because this is a recording just recently with Bevlyn B. Williams. Remember the Pardon Me movie about Bevlyn B. Williams? She's one of 23 pro-lifers that were pardoned by President Trump. So we're going to go to that interview here, and then as soon as we see that live feed at the White House, we'll go directly to that, and then we can finish playing that interview on the other side of the president signing executive orders, or in the next broadcast as well. So just to review, Bevlyn B. Williams interview coming up right now. You'll see the other studio as it was recorded just last week. Take a look. Joining us now is Bevlyn B. Williams, not only a great patriot, she's one of the 23 pro-lifers pardoned by President Trump. Thank you so much for joining us, Bevlyn.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be back.
Yeah, it's great to have you back here. My wife and I went to the movie premiere just the other week in Atlanta. Yeah. It was awesome. The Pardon Me, Bevlyn B. Williams story movie. So what did you think about the movie? Because you only saw it that night, and you told me that your husband said it was fire, so it was great. So what did you think about it?
I think that the movie, it sparked what my heart wanted it to spark: conversation and transparency. This movie really ushers in being naked when it comes to subjects like abortion and faith, and also subjects like solution when it comes to coming from challenging backgrounds. And it just, for me to see like people on that stage talking about their abortions and their situations and their troubles, and being able to relate, but also understanding the solution is Christ, and also exposing a Democrat. My movie was crazy because it just was packed with so much expose. Like it's coming from a broken childhood, and the narrative that the Democrats played in that, you understand? And all the way up until getting an abortion, and then now from getting an abortion, suffering brokenness, and then now being a criminal, and now being judged for being a criminal, but at the same time surrendering to Christ and allowing Christ to shift you. The movie's just packed. It's packed.
Yeah, it was awesome. And it was great to see just recently on TMZ, I guess Black China was interviewed about the movie as well. So yeah, it's getting a lot of, groundswell and a lot of support. And it's all about, being on the right side of history, and you did the right thing there. You're a prayer warrior. You want babies to be saved. You don't want other women to go through what you did. And that movie, it was 2 hours, 6 minutes, and it was every step of it. You're following and you're becoming attached to your character there, and to what you went through. And it was definitely a roller coaster, but it was also the messaging was really powerful and encouraging for people out there. But let's go to the court system. What was that like for you when you were in court and you realized, wait a minute, the jury is full of people that are on the wrong side of history?
Well, I mean, at that time, I realized that I'm being tried in the Southern District of New York City, right? This is one of the most pro-choice areas ever. They knew what they were doing for me to be tried in that area. And it was like I was being lynched, and the only thing that was going to save me was God. But I didn't realize how heavy of a lynching it was going to be. I, in my mind, thought immediate delivery. I did not realize that God was using this process to expose. You understand what I'm saying? And I really believe it helped with Trump's election, because they picked a really bad time to come after me, because Kamala's running as a Black woman and everything is pushed on being Black, while her administration is tearing a Black woman from a Black family because we don't agree with the same thing. So it really kind of exposed who she was, but it also exposed who Trump was, a hero. I mean, he may not be the most orthodox person for everybody. He might drop an F-bomb here and there. But you know what? I'll give you a parable for Trump. Jesus talked about a father who had 2 sons. He said to the one son, go and pick up that food. The son said, no. But then later on, he went to pick it up. And then he had another one who said, go get that food. The son said, yes, son, Dad, I'll go get it. But then he never went. Which son was the most obedient son? The son who actually went to do it. So Trump may not have the most orthodox way of being, but at the end of the day, when the dust settles, homie's gonna obey God. That's enough.
It's so true, and we see that happening day in and day out. But for you to be one of 23 people, or one of 23 across this whole country that President Trump pardoned, calling everyone pro-lifers, which is a majority of the country. That was pretty awesome, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I understood the massiveness of it until I got home. But I can say this, the glory in knowing that my name was on that paper, and him just scribbling that thing and signing my order, and me just immediately being released. It's just like a level. It's okay. I can relate to the children of Israel when they were delivered. Like, I really was delivered. And all of my friends that were locked up, some of them I never even saw face to face. We just knew each other through pro-life movement. But when we got on that phone together and we talked, we all had like this singular frequency in our hearts of just being delivered. It's amazing. It's something you could never understand until you've experienced it. But I hope you don't.
Exactly. So just a refresher for people watching. Can you break down what happened? I mean, at the end of the day, through the movie, you're going to get a good visual and just, through the court system there and what it was like. But from you, the person that had to face 41 months in prison but was pardoned, that day, so you're praying, and then somebody comes out, and then from the clinic, and then what happened?
Right. So let's talk about that day. That day I'm standing, okay, you have to understand, I was not on private property. I'm in Manhattan, and most buildings, 99.9% buildings in Manhattan are on a public sidewalk. Unless you're like in Queens, Long Island, Staten Island, it's different. But in Manhattan, they don't have the room. So it was on a public sidewalk. Planned Parenthood's door was right there, and we would stand on the sidewalk. You have to understand, cops had tried to get us to go across the street, but legally speaking, they had no jurisdiction to get us to be across the street. So we had every right to stand in front of that public sidewalk. And we would be there praying and doing this for months before this rally. Now, what Planned Parenthood did was put up barricades, which not in the movie, but in the trial, it is shown that the barricades were removed by the cops because the barricades were illegal. So the cops removed them, but they were never supposed to be there. So the barricades created this like hub of people all in one spot. And what Planned Parenthood admitted in trial was that they had counter protesters come to that event as well. So this is the thing. I was there as a pro-life protester with my crew of the church, right? Planned Parenthood invited counter protesters who are not associated with Planned Parenthood to come and counter protest my choice. Yet they had the right to be in front of the door, and I didn't. That right there alone, my case should have been dismissed off of that alone, because I'm just as much a protester as they are, right? So now the lady that is an escort, the escort was not even an escort. She was a VP of marketing. She just chose that day to man the door. That doesn't even make sense. And constantly she would be having her phone in our faces. Planned Parenthood's policy is to not engage. It is, and that was admitted in trial. They are not supposed to engage. She engaged the entire time, right? With her phone, close to us, antagonizing, okay? But they never show that part. So now as I'm standing there preaching, she opens the door, whacks me in the back with the door. Now I lean back on the door. I lost my balance. I lean back on the door. Now, did I kind of stay on the door a little longer than usual? Got up slowly because she whacked me in the back? Yeah, I did. And now as I'm getting up off the door, my hand's in the door. Fine. But this is the thing. The police were across the street. I wasn't arrested. I wasn't given a ticket, a citation, anything. And on top of that, immediately after she claimed her hand was crushed in the door, she went back to holding her phone like this. And in the movie, there is a scene of a woman with a fist, like pushing me. That was her fist. So none of that was brought to the table, and it was me crushing her hand in the door. Mind you, she did not go to urgent care until 5 days later, okay? She did not have a broken bone, sprained bone, ligament, anything. Okay, and they was gonna give me 3.5 years for that.
Exactly. And then so in the movie, when I was watching it, I saw a couple of clips. It was so good that I didn't know, is this the real clips that were happening outside of, did that get interjected into the movie?
Yes. Real clips of what really happened was interjected. And in that clip, this woman's hand with the glove on with the fist, that's the lady who claimed I slammed her hand in the door, but she has her fist in my face and pushing me with her fist.
Man.
But again.
Yeah, and then like you said, 41 months. I mean, holy smokes. That's why, obviously, you were pardoned along with 22 other pro-lifers. Let's shift over so people understand that you were also, was it in D.C., and it had the mural, Black Lives Matter, on the entire street. And so what did you do there, and what year was that?
That was in 2020 as well. 2020 was the summer of love, right? We was turning up. They was turning up. We was turning up too. And I threw the black paint on the Black Lives Matter mural. And I had done that. What people don't know is, fun fact, before we threw the paint, we went to the police precinct and we told the officers what we were gonna do. And the officers were like, oh, okay. They gave us permission to park anywhere in the city. Excuse me. On top of that, after we threw the paint and they arrested us, one of the officers got our car, drove our car back to the precinct, parked it in the front instead of impounding it, so we had a vehicle to drive home in, because they could have impounded our vehicle, right? On top of that, the officers cleaned our hands, gave us food. We had chips. We had good old New York slices of pizza. They took care of us because one of the officers has said, listen, where's the church? I'm a Christian and I'm watching Black Lives Matter go crazy. Where's the Christians at in this? And so a lot of the officers felt like they were being thrown under the bus. And at this time, de Blasio was pushing defund the police, defund the police. And while we're following COVID regulations, you can be out looting and breaking into stores and doing things like that. But, you know, I can't throw black paint. It's so hypocritical. But let me just add to what you just said earlier. What people need to know about that whole event and all of this and saying I deserve to go to jail for 41 months, I shouldn't have been there. Okay. Well, when George Floyd was resisting arrest and he was a full-blown crackhead and he was so-called killed by the police, you guys are rioting and riveting and going crazy for George Floyd because he shouldn't have been treated that rough, even if he was resisting arrest. So now, because I'm pro-life, I can't be in front of an abortion clinic preaching. I slam a hand in the door and I deserve 3.5 years in jail. But innocent George Floyd, he deserves a monument up. And all of these things, all the while he was resisting arrest. It's a big contradiction.
You know, when people are watching this interview, this is the kind of thing overall, this whole context here, is what the left-wing mainstream media would not ever, 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 ever air, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly, because it's the truth. And it's something that, you know, unfortunately, mainstream media has...
Well, thank you very much. It's a very important day for many reasons. We've had a lot of important days lately. But this is a meeting and a group of people that are doing an unbelievable job in a thing called crime, and in particular, violent crime. Today we're going to be discussing it. And I watched as a very incompetent mayor from Chicago said, well, what do they know? They only arrested 9 people. I said, 9 people? We didn't arrest 9 people. We actually arrested a total of well over 1,000 people. We took hundreds of guns away from young kids that were throwing them around like it was candy. We apprehended scores of illegal aliens. We seized dozens of illegal firearms. There have been 0 murders. It sounds sort of terrible to say. It's embarrassing. I did this over the weekend. I'm making a speech, and I acted like I was so proud as I said, we've had 0 murders in the last week. And some of these people were from foreign countries. They said, that doesn't sound so good. And I said, well, it doesn't sound good, but Washington was the most dangerous place in this country. And now, you know what? It's probably the safest place in our country. Everyone's starting to come here. The restaurants now you can't get in. Many of them closed because they couldn't open with crime. Everybody before me is happy what I'm doing. Most of you won't say that because you're radical left. The newspapers are so dishonest. The press is totally dishonest, but that's all right. We've gotten used to it. And we won in a landslide, so they obviously lost their power. I mean, it's impossible to imagine that when you get 97% negative stories, purposely negative stories, even though you've done 97% positive things, that you could win an election in a landslide, winning all 7. Think of it, all 7 swing states, winning by the popular vote by millions of votes. We had it fantastic. The best is your districts. Out of 3,000 districts, I guess we won 3,500. We won 2,750, and they won 500. And that's, to me, the best of all. And we had tremendous in every way, the election. And it's hard to believe you can do that when you have a corrupt media. But many of you are corrupt, and it's nothing we can do about it. But we keep winning, and we're going to keep winning. And this whole story on crime is incredible that the Democrats wouldn't be with us. So the mayor of Chicago, I watched him this morning, he said, Trump doesn't know what he's talking about. He only apprehended 9 people. Well, number one, that's false. It's thousands. We'll get into that. But more importantly than anything, we took guns away. We have some of the worst career professionals out of the country already. They've been taken out of the country, and some are in solid confinement because these were killers. We arrested some very bad people. And in the last 11 days, again, I hate to say it because it sounds so ridiculous, but in the last 11 days, we've had no murders. And that's the first time that's taken place in years, actually years. We always have a murder a week. They call it a murder a week. You come here from Iowa, you come here from Indiana, you come here from Idaho, because you're so proud of your country, you love your country, and then you get murdered. Your son gets murdered, your daughter gets murdered, you get murdered. See the media, you get murdered. Many of you have been mugged in Washington, you just don't want to talk about it. And I know that every time I do this with you almost everything, but every time I do this with you, people are saying to yourselves, he's right, and then you write a negative story. But we are doing an incredible job. The people behind me are amazing. We're working very well with the Washington police, as you know. The D.C. National Guard is unbelievable. We're also getting tremendous help from Secret Service. And we are at a point where Washington is booming again. People are pouring in like we haven't seen for years. Nobody wanted to come here. They didn't want to come here and get murdered. I have a friend of mine who has a very successful son. And I said, where is your son going to be this weekend? He said he's going to Washington with his friends. I said, really? Yeah, he's wanted to do it for 4 years, but he couldn't do it because it was so unsafe. And he's a tough kid, too. It's so unsafe. And he ended up staying 3 nights, going out to restaurants all 3 nights. He said it was so beautiful, so peaceful, because all the criminals are either arrested or they're hiding, and we're finding the ones that are hiding. So I want to thank Pam Bondi. I want to thank our Vice President. I want to thank everybody standing behind me because they are really, Gaddy, you've been unbelievable, by the way. They have done an unbelievable job. They're working 24 hours a day. And Washington, D.C. is now in great shape. I'm going to be working with Clark Construction, which is by far your biggest construction company. And we're going to also beautify Washington. We're going to rip down the broken medians, fix them. We're going to put asphalt on the roads. We're not ripping them apart like these stupid people do. They rip a road down to the dirt, and then they spend 5 years in building the new one, and then it starts settling. You know, the whole thing is so crazy. And they'll spend hundreds of millions of dollars on a road. I'll spend about $2, and it'll look better. So we're going to be replacing medians. We're going to be replacing much of the asphalt in the road, which in the city, which is in bad shape. We have great stripers. We have great contractors, but we have to let them do the thing. The Congress has said that they'll give us whatever money is needed to fix up the Capitol. This is the Capitol. And we're not going to spend a lot. It's going to go fast, and it will be spotless. And we want it spotless for the World Cup and for the Olympics. You saw the World Cup was here the other day. And come to think of it, there's your trophy for the World Cup. In fact, it's solid gold. That's actually solid gold, so heavy that some of the people in this room wouldn't be able to lift it up. I think what I'm going to do is place it right above the angel, right over there. That's solid gold, too. We're going to put it right up there. Look at that. There's a solid gold trophy. They know how to get to me, you know. I like the angel better, to be honest with you. So we're going to sign, and then we'll take a few questions, and we'll tell you how good a job we're doing. We want to go from here to other places, but I was telling some of the people that in a certain way, you really want to be asked to go. You know, I hate to barge in on a city and then be treated horribly by corrupt politicians and bad politicians, like a guy like Pritzker. He ought to spend more time in the gym, actually. This guy is a disaster. Gavin Newsom's a disaster. When we went, we saved Los Angeles. You wouldn't have been able to have the Olympics in Los Angeles. You're barely able to have it now. They did lose 25,000 houses to a fire that should have never occurred, because they didn't let the water come down from the Pacific Northwest, which you guys don't want to write about. I had to break into the water supply to let the water down. And even now, we want more. We can have much more. It's less than half of what should be coming in. I don't know, they have a political thing about it. It's like the craziest thing I've ever seen. But I don't like going to a town, city, place, a state, and then be criticized by some corrupt or incompetent governor where crime is rampant. Like, take a look at D.C. Crime was rampant. It was at the all-time worst. It got really bad during the Biden 4 years. And then I have a mayor stand up and say how crime has reached a 30-year low. 30-year low. People are being killed left and right. And it's not a 30-year low. Think of it. So for 11 days, there have been no murders. The record goes back years where that's happened. They haven't seen that happen in years. And then people stand up, and instead of thanking us, which they should do, and she's not that bad. She's better than most. But, you know, you have people, I watched in Illinois, Chicago, Illinois is a disaster. I have property there. It's a disaster what's going on in Chicago. And you get Pritzker, he's violating our rights. I think this is another men and women's sports thing. I think this is one of those, you know, they call them 80-20 issues. I call them 97-3. I think the Democrats better get smart. And, you know, politically, I hope they don't. But actually, in terms of love for the country, I hope they do, because it will be good to work together. So I'm thinking about, you know, when I have some slob like Pritzker criticizing us before we even go there, I made the statement that next should be Chicago, because, as you all know, Chicago is a killing field right now. And they don't acknowledge it. And they say, we don't need him. Freedom, freedom. He's a dictator. He's a dictator. A lot of people are saying maybe we like a dictator. I don't like a dictator. I'm not a dictator. I'm a man with great common sense, and I'm a smart person. And when I see what's happening to our cities, and then you send in troops. Instead of being praised, they're saying you're trying to take over the republic. These people are sick. But I'm really saying, and I say this to all of you, in a certain way, we should wait to be asked, because they have cities that are so under control, out of control. So we go in and fix it. They take the full credit for it, and they go out and say, I heard it this morning. They're saying how well they've done over the last 10-day period, that they set record lows. They don't say that we're there with very tough people, by the way. They have to pass a toughness test. Otherwise, they're not working for us. So, and we're allowed to do that now according to the United States Supreme Court decision. Now, they have to pass a toughness test. If they're not tough, we don't want them for this job. They might be great for other jobs, but not for this job, because they're respected. You saw the gang of kids. They were all huddled up, and a group of soldiers walked up. They never even got over. Those kids ran back to their homes or wherever the hell they came from. They were gone. This is one of the safest cities right now in the world, as crazy as that sounds. And it took 7 days. It took really 3 days, but we're now in our 11th day. So I want to thank you. So we had all of these things, 439 illegal alien criminals have been removed, and we have 6 known gang members, some of the worst leaders of gangs anywhere in the country, MS-13 and Tren de Aragua. We have 2 missing children that have been recovered. They thought they were gone. We brought them back to the family. The family started crying. They couldn't believe that they saw their child again. 49 homeless encampments have been removed. Like, we have the head of South Korea coming in a little while, the president, and he drives down the street. Already, his people have told me, he said, what happened? It's so clean. We always came here, it was filthy dirty with homeless and papers all over the road. That's the other thing. Those roads are swept immaculate, but they're going to be much better in a few months when we put a topping on them. They're going to look like they're brand new. We'll get rid of those rusty old medians that have been crashed into 1,000 times, and they don't fix them. They just let them, they lay them down on the road and they sit there for months. But we don't do that. We don't run things. We run things like we run this. We like clean, we like beautiful, and we like safe, and that's what we're getting. So I'll start signing the executive orders. To me, this is a very, very big deal. One of the executive orders has to do with cashless bail. That was when the big crime in this country started. And I can tell you who did it, when, but I don't want to do that because others followed pretty quickly. But that was when it happened. Somebody kills somebody, they go in, don't worry about it, no cash, come back in a couple of months, we'll give you a trial. You never see the person again. And I mean, they kill people and they get out. Cashless bail. They thought it was discriminatory to make people put up money because they just killed 3 people lying on a street. Any street all over the country, cashless bail. We're ending it, but we're starting by ending it in D.C., and that we have the right to do through federalization. Okay, let's go. Could I ask you to say exactly what this is?
Of course. So, as you've consistently identified, sir, cashless bail policies are a key driver of the disorder we see on city streets all over America. Catch and release system allows criminals to keep going back out onto the street and reoffending. What this executive order does, it charges your attorney general with identifying jurisdictions all over the country that have cashless bail policies, and then it withholds or revokes federal funds and grants that are flowing to those jurisdictions to ensure that we're only supporting the people who have reasonable common sense policies around crime.
So what area does it cover?
Potentially anywhere that has a cashless bail policy. So some of the largest cities, some of the most left-wing states in America
Almost
have adopted.
all of them, right?
Illinois would be a great example of that, sir.
Oh, they have a great cashless bail. You don't even have to go to court sometimes. No, Illinois, I love that state. It's a great state, but it's run so badly by Pritzker. They threw him out of the family business and he becomes governor. Now he wants to run for president. I don't think that's going to happen. Okay, we'll sign right here, right?
Sir.
So important. And this isn't Republican, Democrat. This is, and by the way, most Democrats agree with us. But this is just, we got to bring our country back. Okay? That's a big one.
Also on the issue of cashless bail, sir, this is a D.C.-specific executive order. In addition to the measures that we're taking that are quite similar to what we're doing around the country, in D.C. in particular, the objective is holding as many criminal defendants in federal custody and subjecting them to federal charges as possible. That means that they'll be held pre-trial in federal jail as opposed to just being cut back out on the streets due to a cashless bail policy.
Okay. And we have the room. And by the way, the prison they have in D.C. is horrible. It's horrible. People were subjected to live in that dog trap for so long, so unfairly. I have stories, you'll be hearing about them. That prison is horrible. Okay?
This is an executive order that contains a number of additional measures relating to crime and law enforcement in Washington, D.C. It charges, for example, your Secretary of Defense with establishing specialized units in both the D.C. National Guard and in National Guard units around the country, specifically trained and equipped to deal with public order issues. It charges all of your various federal law enforcement agencies with hiring additional personnel to allow them to surge personnel to Washington, D.C. to deal with the current emergency here. It does a number of other things in that space, and it also asks the Attorney General to look at D.C. Metropolitan Police general orders that have currently impeded law enforcement efforts in the city, and to potentially look at unwinding those that are stopping the police from doing their job effectively.
And are we going to ask this to be codified by Congress, all of these things?
I think we could potentially, yes, sir.
I think so. I think we should. I think we'll get it. I think Democrats will vote. Well, I don't know. It's hard to believe that they might not, but I think Democrats will actually vote for this. There's no auto pen that can do that, right? Look at that, Pam. Is that a good signature? Seriously, is that a good signature? Who can write like that? Nobody. I don't know. That's the other thing. I assume we're looking at the whole auto pen scam.
Sir.
Because the person that ran it said he spoke to it briefly twice about nothing. That means that all those pardons that he gave to some very bad people, very unpatriotic people, very evil people, it looks to me like those pardons are worthless. Because, number one, you shouldn't use an auto pen very specifically. But if you do, it has to be a very good reason. And they have to know that the president wanted it. The president didn't want this. The president didn't know he was alive, okay? He never approved any of this stuff. He wasn't for open borders and all the other things. He was never for open borders. I've known Biden a long time. He was never very sharp, but he was never in favor of open borders and all of the other things he did to destroy our country. Let's go.
Lastly, sir, this is an executive order on flag burning. It charges your Attorney General.
Would you listen to this? This is very important. Flag burning. All over the country, they're burning flags. All over the world, they burn the American flag. And as you know, through a very sad court, I guess it was a 5-4 decision, they called it freedom of speech. But there's another reason, which is perhaps much more important. It's called death. Because what happens when you burn a flag is the area goes crazy. If you have hundreds of people, they go crazy. You can do other things. You can burn this piece of paper. But when you burn the American flag, it incites riots at levels that we've never seen before. People go crazy. In a way, both ways. There are some that are going crazy for doing it. There are others that are angry about them doing it. Do you want to discuss that?
Sure. So what the executive order does, sir, it charges your Department of Justice with investigating instances of flag burning, and then where there's evidence of criminal activity, where prosecution wouldn't fall afoul of the First Amendment, and instructs the Department of Justice to prosecute those who are engaged in these instances of flag burning.
And what the penalty is going to be, if you burn a flag, you get 1 year in jail. No early exits, no nothing. You get 1 year in jail. If you burn a flag, you get, and what it does is incite to riot. I hope they use that language, by the way. Did they?
Yeah, incitement.
Incite to riot. And you burn a flag, you get 1 year in jail. You don't get 10 years, you don't get 1 month. You get 1 year in jail, and it goes on your record. And you will see flag burning stopping immediately, just like when I signed the Statute and Monument Act 10 years in jail if you hurt any of our beautiful monuments. Everybody left town. They were gone. Never had a problem after that. It's pretty amazing. We stopped it. But this is something that's, I don't know, in a certain way, it's equally as important. Some people would say it's more important. Because the people in this country don't want to see our American flag burned and spit on. And by people that are, in many cases, paid agitators. They're paid by the radical left to do it. You talk to these people, they don't even know, half of them don't even know what they're doing. They say, I don't know, they gave me money to do this. I see the same things that you do. They're bad people. They're trying to destroy our nation. That's not working, because I think our nation now is the most respected nation anywhere in the world, by far. You saw that with the European leaders on Friday. You saw that with NATO, where they agreed to go from 2% no pay to 5% fully paid up, trillions of dollars paid, where they respect your president to a level that they jokingly call me the president of Europe. They call me the president of Europe, which is an honor. I like Europe, and I like those people. They're good people. They're great leaders. And we've never had a case where 7 plus really 28, essentially 38 countries were represented here the other day. 38 European countries were represented. European and other countries were represented. And it was a great meeting. But your country is respected again. I say it all the time. 1 year ago, our country was dead. Everybody said it. We had a dead country. We were not going to survive. Now we have the hottest country anywhere in the world. So it's an honor to be involved. And this group has a lot to do with it, right behind me. Does anybody behind me have anything? Pam, would you like to say something?
Sure, President. Thank you for keeping D.C. safe. You know, just a couple examples of a mother, a single mom, whose house was burglarized, and the defendant got out on cashless bail, went back the next night and burglarized her house again. That's why this is so important. A man got in a fight with another guy. He had a gun. He was let out. Next night, he got out, went back and killed him. So that's why it's so important, President, what you're doing. And thank you for protecting the American flag. And we'll do that without running afoul of the First Amendment as well. And President, I think I think Gaddy Serralta had something he wanted to give you on behalf of all the law enforcement who are out there every single night.
Yes, thank you for putting me in charge of this surge. As the director of the United States Marshal Service, it's the oldest law enforcement agency. It was created in 1789. So on behalf of all the federal law enforcement agencies that we're working with and those that have yet to join the team, we thought it was only appropriate to present you with an honorary United States Marshal Service badge. And this badge comes with this little item right here, which is a handcuff key, Mr. President, because you continue through your policies and your efforts with your staff to unhandcuff law enforcement officers all over this nation. And I can tell you personally that they thank you for that.
Thank you. That's beautiful.
You can continue unhandcuffing law enforcement.
That's a very great honor. I'll save that and put it someplace up, which is important. Thank you very much, Gary. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Really nice. Thank you. That's very nice. Thank you. Well, we love those people. They're brave and they love our country, and they don't want to see it. Do you know how many people volunteered for this job? And before I ask the VP to say a few words, because he feels very strongly about it, I think it's very important, Pam, that when we do this, that a state they come and ask us. I mean, I see Pritzker saying, we don't want them. In the meantime, a city is being shot to hell. And they do that politically. And they probably do want it. If we didn't go to Los Angeles, you would literally have had to call off the Olympics. It was so bad. And the sheriff and the law enforcement people, but the sheriff said, and he came out very strongly, he said, if we didn't have these people, we were not able to control it. Now, 4 days later, after we had it totally under control, we did that quickly. He changed his tune a little bit. Well, I think we could have done it. You know, they were dead. If we didn't send in the troops, Los Angeles was dead, the Olympics was gone, the World Cup was gone, everything was gone. We did a great job. And Newsom, he's an incompetent governor. But I think people should want us to be there, because otherwise all they'll do is complain as we do our job. So we'll have to think about that, okay? We go in, like in Washington, we go in and the people that are here that have been doing, I don't want to say terrible, because she happens, she's a nice woman, yes. I don't care about if she's nice, I really don't care. I want her to do, I'd rather have her be horrible, but do the job. But we come into Washington and we have the 11 best days they've had here in 2 centuries. I mean, they've never seen anything like it. Let's go 2 decades. In over 20 years, they haven't seen anything like what happened. And now they're out there saying, we don't have crime in Washington. Well, that's true. For 11 days, you don't have crime. But before that, everybody was getting hit and mugged, and you people could not walk to your office without security. That's how unsafe it was. So I think we should really let them have their city, let their city go to hell, and when they come and beg us to help. The only problem is we want to save it for the people, because the people want us there. The people here, 95% of the people here want us. The real people, not the people you find on, I don't know where you find these people. You have one person that has a broken nose. Where'd you get it? Well, I was mugged. Good. Do you want to see Trump here with? No, I don't want. A woman has a broken nose. She got mugged. But she's saying she doesn't want any protection. It's all made up fake news. It's just fake news. I don't know where you find these people. Anyway, would you say a couple of words, please? And then I'm going to ask JD to say something. You have done an unbelievable job in a short period of time.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Highly recommended by you-know-who, right?
Yes, sir.
Do you want to say his name?
Mr. Youngkin, Governor Youngkin. Yes, sir.
We stole you from Governor
He called
Youngkin.
me. Right. He called me. Glenn Youngkin called, and he said, I have somebody who's really fantastic. And based on that recommendation, here you are. And you've done a fantastic job. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Go ahead.
The men and women of the Metropolitan Police Department are back. They enjoy doing their job again. They feel the ability to go out and be law enforcement officers. They feel that they're connected to their communities again. They are making a difference. Thanks to you, Mr. President, and our federal task force, you are making D.C. safe once again. Thank you, sir.
It's going to get better and better. Well, it can't get much better. There's no crime. I read where crime's down 89%. I said, really? Who are the 11%? Okay? There's no crime. JD, please.
Yes, sir. Well, thanks, Mr. President. Thanks to the incredible team here. I was want to echo something the president said, where you say there haven't been murders in a couple of weeks in D.C., and it doesn't sound good, but then you talk to local law enforcement, and I didn't realize that this town averaged 1 murder every other day for the last 20, 30 years, which means that in 2 short weeks, the president and the team have saved 6 or 7 lives, people who would have been killed on the streets of D.C., who are now living, breathing, spending time with their families, because the president had the willpower to say, no more. We're not going to give the streets of D.C. over to vagrants and robbers and murderers. And the last point I want to make, sir, to your point about we want people to welcome us, to ask us, because look at Governor Pritzker in Illinois, or Governor Newsom in Los Angeles, or Governor Moore in Maryland. They are angrier about the fact that the President of the United States is offering to help them get their crime under control than they are about the fact that murderers are running roughshod over their cities and have been for decades. Why are Democrat governors angrier about federal law enforcement helping clean up their streets than they are about the fact that those streets need to be cleaned up to begin with? It shows a real sickness in the head. And I agree with the President of the United States. I think most Democrats, rank and file, nobody likes crime. Republicans don't like crime. Democrats don't like crime. Independents don't like crime. Why are Democratic governors doing everything in their power to make crime easier to do in their cities? It doesn't make an ounce of sense to me. But, Mr. President, I appreciate you being willing to help. And I hope these governors take you up on the offer, because we should clean up all of America's streets. It's the right of every American to live in safety and comfort in their community.
And we've got the people to do it. They're signing up like they've never signed up before. Our military, as you know, during the campaign, nobody was signing up. We were way short of their goal, we were understaffed. Nobody wanted to be in the military. Nobody wanted to be a policeman. Nobody wanted to be a fireman. They didn't want anything to do with the country. We had an incompetent, grossly incompetent president who, frankly, should not have been there. He should have never been there. The damage he did to this country is incalculable. I mean, just what he has done. So much of our effort are getting murderers and jailbirds and people out of this country who are drug dealers at the highest level. So much of the energy of people that he let in, it was an unforced error. But I don't think they think it's an error. But I don't believe he believed it. It was the radical lunatics that surrounded this guy at this desk, who are brilliant people, but with the wrong philosophy. There were some brilliant people, but they're evil people, and they're going to be brought down. They have to be brought down because they really hurt our country. But we're getting it back very quickly. And I'll tell you something, our country's now it's stronger. I think we're more respected than we've been respected in 100 years. It's a whole different ballgame. JD, could I ask you,
Yes, sir.
You gave a stat on murders here. What were the numbers? You said in a short period of time, how many people were murdered?
Local law enforcement told me, sir, that in the past 20 or 30 years, D.C. has averaged a murder every other day. That's, 200 murders a year, 150, 250, but about every other day a person has been killed on the streets of Washington, D.C. We've been doing this for 2 weeks. 0 people killed. That's real lives saved that the media and, frankly, the entire Democratic Party should be saying, thank you for saving lives instead of attacking the President of the United States for doing so.
When a person, unfortunately, will probably happen at some point, when a person's murdered in D.C., it's going to be the biggest story maybe in history. Right?
Yes, sir.
Somebody was murdered in D.C. Trump is failing. No, we're not failing. We have a safe city. This is maybe the safest city in America right now. That's how good it is. And it would be nice to be appreciated. These people, eventually, they're going to have to be appreciated for what they're doing. And they're going to have to be appreciated by the officials that are really happy when we go in because they've lost control of their place. Steve Miller, please, say a few words.
Thank you, sir. So just to, first of all, follow up on what the Vice President said. No police officer working in the city can remember a time in their lives when there has been no murders. You can work at the police department for 20 years, 30 years, your whole life. We've checked the records. No one can even find a record of being murder-free for as long as we've been murder-free under President Trump's leadership. Additionally, and the President spoke about this before, we've uncovered, in the process of uncovering, a massive scandal in Washington, D.C. with the doctoring of crime stats. And the Department of Justice, under the Attorney General, is leading the effort to uncover this. But when we ultimately share the results, it will stun you. The extent to which, even though D.C. had the worst crime in America, honestly measured, it dramatically understated how bad it was. There's even accusations that murders and homicides were reported as accidents instead of murders. I mean, this is how severe the manipulation of the crime data has been in this city, and it will all be uncovered and it will all be brought to light. I've had a chance to spend some time, as has everyone here, with the police officers in the city. Members of the public are going up to them and thanking them, just overflowing with gratitude, because for the first time in their lives, they can use the parks, they can walk on the streets. You have people who can walk freely at night without having to worry about being robbed or mugged. They're wearing their watches again. They're wearing jewelry again. They're carrying purses again. People had changed their whole lives in this city for fear of being murdered, mugged, and carjacked. It is a literal statement that President Trump has freed 700,000 people in this city who were living under the rule of criminals and thugs. And the last thing I'll say is that under the efforts of Terry, to my left and many here, what they found also is that the street criminals here in Washington, D.C. were doing business directly with the transnational criminal cartels, the foreign terrorist organizations. So not only was the city being run by these criminal thugs, but they were working with some of the most dangerous terrorist organizations on the planet to traffic weapons and drugs into this city. And what we are uncovering every day is shocking to us, and we look forward to sharing all the results with you. But President Trump, your leadership has uncovered some of the great public safety scandals of our life, and now because of you, people are safe and free for the first time ever in this city.
Thank you very much, Steve. In Los Angeles, Beverly Hills is, a great place. I have a house there. I had a house there. I used to spend a lot of time there. And a great place. Do you know that I have friends, they leave their trunk open for their car because they know they're going to be vandalized. They don't want the trunk ripped off in order for them to steal what's in the back. They leave the doors open, so when they go in to steal the radio or whatever they take, that they don't rip off the door. They leave the doors totally open, so the criminals, when they go and open the door, they have to break the windows and kill the car in order to steal whatever it is in the car that they're looking for. And that's at a level that nobody's ever seen before. Nobody lives like that. I have another friend, he has a garage, and in order to save his garage door, he leaves it open so that people can just walk into his garage, take whatever they want, and leave. But all the cars are, so many cars, I've been told this by many people, stars, big people, they leave their doors open so the doors aren't destroyed by these criminals. All over Los Angeles this is taking place. And you know that. I mean, you've heard that. Christy, could you say a few words?
Sure. Well, Mr. President, I think one of the most impactful statistics that you used today was of the 1,000 arrests that have happened already so far, 439 of them were illegal criminals, which means they never should have been in this country to begin with. That they were in this country, invaded over our southern border or our northern border or maritime seas, and then they committed crimes against the American people. So by getting those individuals incarcerated, we've stopped those violent crimes from happening here in the city. And sir, they do. Exactly like Stephen was talking, they have ties to cartels. They have networks across this country in other cities. So by what you're doing here is going to have a ripple effect in Miami, in Chicago, in other cities, because you're grabbing those networks and giving us information and targeting information to go and get more criminals across this country. So thank you for the work that you're doing. We have ICE and CBP, Federal Protective Services, Secret Service, HSI, all of our officers are working with all the other agencies every day here in DC, and they're so proud to have this kind of partnership. So they're so glad that you're letting them do their jobs again. And I don't know if you've heard, sir, but the recruitment campaign for ICE, when we were going to hire 10,000 new officers, we've got over 130,000 people that have applied and raised their hands and said they want to work with ICE. So no matter what the fake news says or what the media says about ICE not having support, they've got incredible support from the American people. People want to join them and help them do what they're doing to make America safe again. So thank you for that.
I was going to say that our recruitment drive, so it was dead. During the campaign, they couldn't get, every story was the Army can't fill up, the Marines, none of them could fill up. They were way behind. We couldn't get anybody to go into the military, couldn't get any police. We've just set records on everybody wants to be in. Everybody wants to go in. And we're taking incredible people. I mean, the level of, because of the Supreme Court, it's based on merit. It's all based on merit now. It's not based on anything else. You got to, if you need strong people, you have to get strong people. It's all based on merit. But we're setting records in the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, the Coast Guard. One of my favorites, because I happen to have created it, Space Force. We're very proud of Space Force. It's amazing what it's doing. We're leading in space now. China was killing us. Russia was beating us. China was killing us. We're now killing China. We are leading in space by a lot because of Space Force. So we're very proud. But everybody wants to go in. We went from not, and you know how bad that is for the spirit when every story that you were writing a year ago was that nobody wants to go into the military anymore. And if you're in the military, you know how deflating that is? You go and be a family. Nobody wants a job that you have. Well, now it's the opposite. Everybody wants to be there. And that includes police and fire and everything else. You're doing a good job.
Thank you, sir.
You're stopping a lot of wars. just the presidents we're stopping. We've stopped 7 wars. And really the number is actually 10. We're not including a couple. And we're not including in there what we did with Iran, stopping their nuclear play. They would have had, within a month or two, they would have had a nice big nuclear weapon to use. That's not going to happen. That won't happen. Pete, go ahead, please.
Yes, sir. Well, Mr. President, thank you very much for your leadership. And the Defense Department is proud to be a part of this task force. Just like we have been down at the southwest border, where crossings are at 0. We've got national defense areas where we're working with Border Patrol to secure the southern border for the American people. Just like Los Angeles, where ICE officers deserve to do their job without being attacked, we're really proud to be a part of defending the nation's capital and ensuring it is safe and beautiful and working with law enforcement. And Mr. President, let me tell you, the morale of the troops, getting out there talking to them, they love this mission. They're grateful to be doing it, whether they're DC National Guard or other state National Guards. And at your direction as well, sir, it's just common sense to make sure they're armed as well. And so they were rolling out ensuring they're armed, capable of defending themselves and others if need be, supporting law enforcement, and we're proud to be there, sir.
Well, look at the mission you just accomplished with Iran. 36 hours back and forth, flawless. Every bomb hit its target. They went right down those chutes, dark at night, no moon, no nothing. Every target, every bomb went right down. They have a chute that goes right down deep into the mountain. And they shouldn't have put ventilation in, I can tell you, because we use that for our advantage. But what they did, and we had the pilots and even the people that took care of the planes, we had a whole group of people at the White House a couple of weeks ago. And, you know, I didn't realize this, but they said, we've been looking at their predecessors, and then these were the pilots. They said, we gave them beautiful medals. And I'll show you the medal. Gave them a medal just like this. See? Just like that. They were so happy. Gave a lot of them out for that. It was an incredible job. You know, we had 52 tankers. People don't realize, so that they could refuel. We had many fighter jets, F-22s, and F-35s. We had many. It was an amazing operation. It was flawless. Compare that to the operation when they went in with the helicopters crashing and everyone running around the desert, and the prisoners being taken. And that was Jimmy Carter. And what a horrible thing. This was the exact opposite. This was the exact opposite of what they did in leaving a very, very nice place. The Taliban runs a tough operation in Afghanistan, and I think it was the most embarrassing day in the history of our country. That was Biden. I was leaving, and we would have left through strength, tremendous strength. We would have kept Bagram, which is the air base, one of the largest runways in the world, one of the most powerful. You could land anything on it, many, many feet thick. You don't build them that way anymore. You can't. But we left it, and now China's occupying that air base. This was the most incompetent administration in history, the Biden administration. And you're just lucky that they lost, because if they won, you wouldn't have a country anymore. And so, Pete, you started up by saying the Department of Defense. And somehow it didn't sound good to me. You know, it didn't sound good. Defense, what are we defense? Why are we defense? So it used to be called the Department of War. And it had a stronger sound. And as you know, we won World War I, we won World War II, we won everything. Now we have a Department of Defense. We're defenders. I don't know. If you people want to, standing behind me, if you take a little vote, if you want to change it back to what it was when we used to win wars all the time, that's okay with me. All right?
That's coming soon.
You let me know if you want to do it. I think Department of War. It just sounded bad. He said, sir, on behalf of the Department of Defense. Defense? I don't want to be defense only. We want defense, but we want offense too, if that's okay. So you'll make a decision. But, you know, as Department of War, we won everything. We won everything. And I think we're going to have to go back to that. In the meantime, I've stopped all of these wars. I've stopped them. A big one would have been India and Pakistan. But we stopped them all. We stopped 3 wars. Go to Africa. They like to say, oh, you know, I love black people. And I did great with the vote with the black people. But they say, he's a racist, he's a racist. I said, really? For 35 years, a war raged between Rwanda and the Republic of the Congo. And it was a vicious war. 9 million people were killed with machetes, largely. Hatchets, machetes. That went on for more than 30 years, but 34, 35 years. And I stopped it. In fact, the presidents are coming in a week or two to sign we have the foreign ministers, it's all signed, the war stopped. But I got it stopped and saved a lot of lives. The Congo. It's deepest, darkest Africa. I got that war stopped. Nobody else could have done that. We did a lot of jobs. We did a lot of wars were stopped that nobody thought would even be possible. And I'll tell you what, the war with India and Pakistan, that was the next level. That was going to be a nuclear war. They already shot down 7 jets. That was raging. And I said, you guys want to do trade? We're not doing any trade. We're not doing anything with you if you keep fighting. You got 24 hours to settle it. They said, well, there's no more war going. And I used that on numerous occasions. Trade, I used I used whatever you had to use. But we got 7 of them stopped. And the one I thought would be easiest, frankly, was going to be Russia and Ukraine. But that turns out to be some big personality conflicts. It's one of those things, but we're going to get that stopped eventually. We're going to get that stopped too. 7,000 soldiers died last week. Think of that, 7,000. I usually say 5,000, but 7,221 soldiers died last week in the fight between Ukraine and Russia. And they're not our soldiers, but they're souls. They're living souls, and they leave their homes and they wave to their parents, and their parents are so proud as they leave in a beautiful uniform, and a week later they get their head blown off by a drone. New form of military. It's a whole new form of fighting. So I would just like to thank the people that are behind me. Thank you very much. You've done a fantastic job. I appreciate it very much. We're doing a real job, and I'm so proud of D.C. I passed it 2 days ago, and all the garbage is off the streets. It's terrible. I came in a month and a half ago. I'm driving down, and I see garbage all over the place. The streets were a pigsty. Like I won't use the city's names, but you know what I'm talking about. There are plenty of them outside of this country and inside of this country. Baltimore is a horrible, horrible deathbed. It's a deathbed. I know Governor Moore said, oh, he wants to take a walk with me. He meant it in a derogatory tone. I said, no, I'm the President of the United States. Clean up your crime and I'll walk with you. But it's tremendous crime. But he was trying to be derogatory. He doesn't have what it takes. But he's trying to be derogatory. And I met him at the Army-Navy game. They said, oh, there's Governor Moore. He'd love to see you. He came over to me. He hugged me, shook my hand. You were there. He said, sir, you're the greatest president of my lifetime. I said, well, it's really nice that you say that. I'd love you to say it publicly, but I don't think you can do that, so it's okay. But no, sir, you're doing a fantastic job. I want to just shake your hand. Thank you very much, Governor. That was it. And then every time I see him on television, he's knocking the hell out of me. So, but that's all right. That's called politics. But Governor Moore's he's doing a bad job. Newsom's doing a bad job. All of their potential candidates are doing a bad job. I can't imagine Pritzker being even a candidate, but somebody said he is. He can't do the work, can't do the job. He's not temperamentally suited. So I just want to thank you all for being here. Do you have some questions?
Mr. President, is the Pentagon, and maybe the Secretary of Defense can weigh into, is the Pentagon preparing for military deployment to Chicago? And with what you said there, are you waiting for the governor?
We're ready to go anywhere. We have a full complement of great human beings. We're full. You know, our military is full. We were way empty 1 year ago. Now we're full. So we can go anywhere on less than 24 hours notice.
Are you waiting for the governor?
And we're doing a lot to interdict to stop drugs from coming in, too. We have ships out on sea. You know, we have nobody coming through our border anymore. Nobody. Doesn't that feel good to know that you don't have prisoners coming in and, you know, killers, murderers? We had 11,888 murderers come in, led in by the Biden administration. Many of them have been captured, but we still have a couple of thousand that are out there. Some of them, 50% of them killed more than one person, okay? But a lot of them have been captured. What they've done to our country, these people that circle this moron that we had behind this desk, what they've done to our country is unthinkable. It's unthinkable. I mean, if you think so much of our time is devoted to correcting a problem that all they had to do is say, close the borders. Remember when he said, well, I have no power to close the border. I have to go back and get an act from Congress. I didn't get an act from Congress. I came in, I said, close the borders. And Tom Homan, who's not here, has been fantastic, Christy, right? Yes. Tom Homan is great. He's a fantastic man and respected by everybody. But I said, Tom, close the borders. Christy, close the borders. The borders were closed. We didn't go to Congress and get permission. We just closed the borders. And in the last 3 months, hard to believe this one too, in the last 3 months, we've had 0 people come into our country illegally through the southern border. Nobody would have said that's possible. Yeah, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today, MS-13 gangbanger and human trafficker Kilmar Abrego Garcia turned himself into ICE in Baltimore. Do you have any comment on this? And why are the Democrats so emotionally attached to this man who beats his wife and is part of a terrorist organization?
Because they think he's going to be good for votes, and I think he's very bad for votes. These people are deranged. He's not good for votes. He beat the hell out of his wife. His wife is afraid to even talk about him. She's been mauled by this animal. And, through a system of liberal courts, he's doing things. But, no, we have that under control. And Pam has got that very much under control. Do you want to comment on it, Pam?
No, we've got him under control. He will no longer terrorize our country. He's currently charged with human smuggling, including children. The guy needs to be in prison. He doesn't need to be on the streets like all these liberals want him to be. And as part of this operation here in D.C., we've also taken off MS-13 members. We've taken, I think just last night, we got a TDA guy off our streets right here, right around from where we all work. Another TDA member gone because of this project. So we're going to keep America safe from all of these foreign terrorist organizations, including Abrego Garcia.
Okay.
Mr. President, if we could get your reaction, sir. The Israelis bombed a hospital in Gaza that killed 20 people, including 5 journalists.
When did this happen?
This happened overnight, today.
I didn't know that.
Any reaction to this? Are you
Well,
going
I'm
to
not
talk
happy
to
about
Prime
it.
Minister?
I don't want to see it. At the same time, we have to end that whole nightmare. I'm the one that got the hostages out. I got them out, all of them. Steve Witkoff has been amazing. He's done a great job. But I'm the one that got them all out through my people and through me. And now we're left with probably a little bit less than 20 because I think 1 or 2 are gone. And I said a long time ago, I'm going to get them out. But when we get down to that final 10 or 20, these people aren't going to release them because they're dead after they release them. So it's a nasty situation. Very nasty, horrible thing.
Mr.
Yes.
President, could you please elaborate on your post on South Korea? What were you referring to?
Well, I heard that there were raids on churches over the last few days, very vicious raids on churches by the new government in South Korea, that they even went into our military base and got information. They probably shouldn't have done that, but I heard bad things. I don't know if it's true or not. I'll be finding out. As you know, your new president's coming in just a couple of hours coming here. I look forward to meeting him. But we won't stand for that. We just won't stand for that.
Yes. Are you prepared to order National Guard troops, though, into American cities if those governors don't request the federal deployment?
I am, but I also think that, look, Chicago, everybody knows how bad it is. Everybody standing there knows. We know. You don't have to be doing any studies. They should be saying, please come in. Pritzker should be saying that. I did a favor for Christy Whitmer, a good favor, I think, with the fish, the carp, the China carp. Did you ever hear of it? China carp. And it's taken over your Great Lakes. You know about that, right? And she came and she wanted to know if it's possible for us to do something about it. And I said, well, I'll do it. But I think it's appropriate that the person from Illinois, the governor from Illinois, asks also. It's a tremendously expensive project, actually. It's invasive. It's horrible what's happened. And we can do it with GSA and various people. But we can do it. We're going to just have to see what happens, okay? We're going to have to see what happens. But
you believe that you have the legal
but
authority
the
to order
governor
those
of
troops?
Michigan came, was very respectful, asked for it. She's done a good job. I did that. I opened the Air Force Base, kept it open for F-35s and various planes, F-22s too. I did that for the state of Michigan at her request. And I will, and also at our congressmen. We have congressmen that are unbelievably pro-Michigan up there. But some of this stuff, like the lakes, the Great Lakes, this is a big problem that nobody ever talks about. Most of you probably have never heard of. We have a pretty violent fish that comes from China, China carp, Chinese carp. And you see them jumping out. They jump into boats and they jump all over the place. They've got a lot of energy. And there's a way of getting rid of them. It's very expensive. And I didn't get a request from the governor of Illinois, who is affected maybe more than anybody else, right? And I think until I get that request from that guy, I'm not going to do anything about it. And I feel the same way about crime. We go in, we will solve Chicago within 1 week, maybe less, but within 1 week, we will have no crime in Chicago, just like we have no crime in D.C. But, I don't like to go in and do it and then have somebody stand up and say what a great job he's doing on crime. And we don't want the military in our state. We don't want the military. Do you understand? Do you understand that?
Yeah, these governors will say
So I don't know.
there was no
We're going to
emergency
have a little
response.
meeting. I think, I feel like we go in and we do it. Like here, to a lesser extent with the mayor, she hasn't been terrible, but she hasn't been, exactly saying, oh, great. She did say last night, I heard her say that, well, we really don't want the military in D.C. Well, that's, not very nice, I guess. That's a little bit of a hit. But she's not as bad as some. We saved Los Angeles, and all we did is get criticized by this idiot that's running the state into the ground, right, where people are leaving. He should be thanking us, and he should be requesting us to be there. And the governor of Illinois should be. Chicago's a disaster. And the governor of Illinois should say, President, would you do us the honor of cleaning up our city? We need help. They need help. They need help.
So are you
But
waiting
without
for
that request, do you think you have
We may wait. We may or may not. We may just go in and do it, which is probably what we should do. The problem is, it's not nice when you go in and do it and somebody else is standing there saying, as we give great results, say, we don't want the military in. They need help badly. Chicago desperately needs help. Just look at the crime statistics. Look at the statistics that JD said about, even I didn't know it was that bad. That's terrible. But all I know is we're being celebrated because we went an entire week. Now it's 11 days. We went an entire week without a murder. And I said, boy, that sounds terrible. I didn't know how, I actually made a speech. I didn't know how to say it because it's a great number. It's a great thing, but it sounds so bad. I mean, supposing you're from a foreign country, which is properly run and they don't have murders and things, right, so much, or in some cases virtually at all. And you have somebody saying, I'm proud to announce that nobody was murdered in the capital of the United States this week. It sounds terrible, but...
Mr. President, Gavin Newsom, you mentioned Gavin Newsom on crime.
Gavin Newsom, yes.
Is there a federal mechanism you're hoping to use to fight back against his redistricting constitutional amendment, or is that...
Well, I think I'm going to be filing a lawsuit pretty soon, and I think we're going to be very successful in it. We're going to be filing it through the Department of Justice. That's going to happen. And we're also going to be filing a lawsuit on blue slipping. Blue slips make it impossible for me as president to appoint a judge or a U.S. attorney because they have a gentleman's agreement. It's nothing memorialized. It's a gentleman's agreement that's about 100 years old, where if you have a president like a Republican and if you have a Democrat senator, that senator can stop you from appointing a judge or a U.S. attorney. In particular, those are the two, I guess anything, but those are the two that are very important. So we have numerous states where we have unbelievable people. Now, Jay Clayton was just approved in the Southern District, but he was so good. He was a top student, top schools, top everything, went to Sullivan and Cromwell, became the head of Sullivan and Cromwell, came down here, was Securities and Exchange Commission, ran it for 4 years during my term, like impeccably, beautiful job. He did an incredible job. And we went to court. And the judges, Democrat judges, voted that he could. That's the only way you get by it. But generally speaking, you can't do that because you'll have judges from the other party. So Jay Clayton just got approved, and he's in. But he didn't get approved by the senators. He got approved by the court system in New York, which was a great thing. And I had a big victory in New York, I might add. I saved myself $500 million with a fake, corrupt attorney general, a really corrupt person with a corrupt judge who was disgraceful, and they're being mauled right now by everybody. It's so corrupt, and it kept business out of New York. Stuff like that. But the appellate division vacated all of that stuff that you read about, and we're going to do a big number on that whole thing. You can't have a corrupt court system. You can't have that. You have to have borders, and you have to have a free press. Otherwise, you don't have a country. But you'll be hearing about the blue slipping, because if you have not, you don't need two senators. You just need one Democrat senator with a Republican. The only person that I can get approved are Democrats or maybe weak Republicans, but we don't want that. But the only person I will be able to get approved in any of those states where you have a Democrat I can't get a U.S. attorney. I can only get a Democrat U.S. attorney. And this is based on an old custom. It's not based on law, and I think it's unconstitutional, and I'll probably be filing a suit on that pretty soon. Yeah, please.
During the campaign, you called Kamala Harris a communist, but the Biden-Harris administration, they never called for nationalizing a private company with the federal government like you're proposing with Intel. What do you say to some who say this is a bit hypocritical, and is this the new way of doing industrial policy?
Yeah, sure it is. I want to try and get as much as I can. If people come in and they need something, as an example, as a real estate person, if I have an agreement and I have any form of a stopgap where I can stop somebody from doing something, right? I have a covenant in an agreement, and they come to me and they say, would like to do something, but you have us restricted. If I do that, they usually have to pay. Now, in the case of Intel, it was interesting, but I hope I'm going to have many more cases like it. Intel came in. I met with the gentleman. I had a lot of respect for him. He came in under a little bit of a cloud. I liked his story. I thought he was good. I think he really means to do a good job with Intel. I said, I'd like to ask whether or not you'd because the story, a lot of people said I invested in Intel. I didn't invest, but I invest my heart in it and my soul because I want the country to be strong. But I said, I'd like you to give 10% of Intel to the United States of America. Not to me, to the United States of America. And I said, if you have them as a partner, you have the United States as a partner, I think that would be a very good thing for Intel. And he thought about it, a little bit different, and he said, I like that idea very much. We have a deal. And I just made $10 billion or $11 billion for the United States of America. And yeah, there will be other cases. If I have that opportunity again, I would do that. And then, you do have stupid people say, oh, that's a shame. It's not a shame. It's called business. If somebody's willing to give you 10% of a company and you're not paying for it, and I will tell you, with a company like Intel, as you know, it's had difficulty. I want them to do well. I want them to do well anyway, but I want them to do well in particular now.
But isn't public ownership of a private company a new way of doing business in the business of the United States? Isn't that what you were sort of rejecting?
So are tariffs. So, as you know, the stock market went up almost 1,000 points on Friday. And it went up not because of this very, I think, terrible, hello? Who's that? Who is that back there? All right, get out of the room. It went up because of something much different. It went up because it was announced, CBO announced the numbers, and as you know, they gave no credit to tariffs. They said they made a mistake, that the trade deficit will be reduced because of Trump's tariffs, will be reduced by $4 trillion, right? Is that what they said, right? They said $4 trillion, and the market went up like a rocket ship because the tariffs are good. Well, tariffs aren't that usual. If the 7 wars I stopped, 4 of them were because of the fact that I had tariffs and trade. And I was able to say, well, if you do this, if you go fight, and if you want to kill everybody, that's okay. But I'm going to charge you each 100% tariff when you trade with us. You know what? They all gave up. I stopped 7 wars. Numerous of them was because of tariffs. So, you never knew the word tariff. It didn't exist really, essentially, in this country until actually in the 1870s up till 1913 it existed. And we were the richest country. We were richer then, proportionately, than at any time in the history of our country. And then, stupidly, in 1913, they said, let's go to the income tax way of life. Let the people pay instead of foreign countries. No. We're taking in trillions of dollars in tariffs, and we're stopping wars because of tariffs. So that's not so normal either. But you know what? Other countries did it to us, and now we're doing it to other countries.
You ruled out boots on the ground in Ukraine, but how would air support as part of a security guarantee be any different? Those U.S.
Well, you
airmen.
really went from one question to the next. You go from one. I expected him to at least challenge me a little bit. Now we're talking about boots on the ground.
But U.S. air assets over the skies of Ukraine as part of a security guarantee, wouldn't those U.S. airmen also be
Well,
in
you
danger?
don't know what security guarantee is because we haven't even discussed the specifics of it, and we'll see. Number one, Europe is going to give them significant security guarantees, and they should because they're right there. But we'll be involved from the standpoint of backup. We're going to help them. And I think if we get a deal, and I think we will, but if we get a deal, you're not going to, I don't believe you're going to have much of a problem. But we'll back it up because I want to stop seeing people being killed. You know, when Biden was here, he gave $350 billion. You know this from covering business. $350 billion to Ukraine. I said that Zelensky's the greatest salesman I think I've ever met, better than P.T. Barnum, because he'd come to the country, he'd walk out with $50 billion every time. He actually came here once, he walked out with $100 billion. We're up to $350 billion. I got $1 trillion worth of rare earth that we have from the country because I felt badly for our taxpayer. But I did something else at the NATO meeting. They are wealthy countries, but they weren't paying. And we don't pay any money to Ukraine anymore. Do you know that? In fact, it's the opposite. They request through NATO, we deal with NATO. We don't deal really with Ukraine. NATO requests missiles. They want Patriots. They want missiles. We give the missiles to NATO. NATO pays us in full and does what they want. I mean, I think they give them mostly to, they can do other things with them too because we're dealing with NATO. We pay no money to Ukraine. We gave $350 billion to Ukraine. You know, if we didn't give that kind of money, and I was the one that gave the javelins, if you remember. I gave the javelins. They were very effective. They say Obama gave sheets and Trump gave javelins. They were very effective with those tanks right at the beginning. But you would have never had a war if I were president. You would have never had a war. Just to finish, we spend no money on Ukraine anymore. We were getting fleeced by a president that didn't know what he was doing. To be honest, I don't blame Ukraine. I mean, if they come and ask for $100 billion, then they get it. But we were in for $350 billion. Now, we make money. I don't want to make money on Ukraine. I want the war to end because I want to save all those lives. I want to just say, but just so you understand, we're no longer losing money on that thing. We were losing money hand over fist. And now we don't lose any money. Now we sell weapons to NATO. Because NATO agreed, because of me, to go to 5%. They had 2% and didn't pay. Now they have 5% and they're all paid up. So they have trillions of dollars and they give us that money. But I really want the war to end, and we're going to get it ended.
Mr. President, since the historic summit here with Ukrainian President Zelensky, European leaders all met here with you at the White House. You said you wanted to get this done bilateral as soon as possible. Have you spoken to Putin since last Monday?
Yeah, I have.
What is your conversation? Or can you share?
Every conversation I have with him is a good conversation, and then unfortunately a bomb is loaded up into Kiev or someplace, and then I get very angry about it. I think we're going to get the war done. It's tough. I thought that would be, of the 7 that I settled, I thought that would be the easiest of the group. See, you never know what's going to happen. You know, war, strange things happen in war. The fact that he went to Alaska, our country, I think was a big statement that he wants to get it done. That was not easy for him to go to Alaska, you know, for him to come here. But the fact that he showed up on a very successful day, it was a very successful day for other things. Because, you know, we're also talking about missiles, nuclear. We're talking about a lot of different things. We're talking about limiting nuclear weapons. We'll get China into that. We have the most. Russia has the second most, and China has third. But China is way behind, but they'll catch us in 5 years. We would like to denuclearize. It's too much power. And we talked about that also. That's part of it. But we have to get the war over with.
On Baltimore, sir. Thank you. On Baltimore, you said that you are going to have to reconsider bridge funding. Is that contingent on Westmore cleaning up the streets?
No, we were very generous to him on a bridge. You know, a boat ran into a bridge and the bridge came down like I've never seen anything. The boat was just So it just shows you the mass of that boat, the power of that boat. You know, people were up on that bridge, painters. They were painting the bridge, and they were watching it happen. And they thought they were very safe. They all died. They were painting the bridge, can you imagine? And they watched the boat. The engines were off, and they watched the boat. And the power of that boat, the mass of that boat, went right through that steel just like it was nothing. It's amazing. It's called mass. Mass is a big deal. But the mass of that boat, those people all died. But they thought they were totally safe. They were eating their lunch. They were, you know, whatever. They were watching it. They could have gotten off. Somebody did a very good job. A police officer called in and said, close the bridge. And he did it with power. Get everybody off the bridge. Close that. That guy should get a medal because he stopped the bridge. A lot of people would have died. A lot more people would have died. The ones that died were the workers on the bridge. And they thought there was no danger because, you know, it's a big steel bridge. And it came down like toothpicks. It was incredible to watch that. It was just, and they died. They all died. But that police officer, again, the police do a great job. The police officer did an amazing job. And I heard the tapes. He was saying, get everybody off. Most people wouldn't have said that. You know, when you see a thing like that, you assume it's going to, you know, tap the bridge and it's going to be rebuffed. The thing just came down. I've never seen anything like it. So he did a good job. In fact, I think we should get him in for a medal. The man that gave the warning, I listened to him. Everybody get off, screaming. Everybody off. He had the sense to realize that this could be a catastrophe as opposed to a ship that's, because the engines weren't working. It was just floating. It's an amazing thing that a thing floating like that with no power just knocked it right down like it was nothing.
So
Let's do that. Let's give him a medal. I've been thinking about it.
Mr. President, do you plan to investigate Chris Christie?
Say it what?
Do you plan to investigate Chris Christie?
Look, Chris is a slob. Everybody knows it. I know Chris better than anybody in the room. I always felt he was guilty. But what he did is he took the George Washington Bridge, which is very serious. He closed down the George Washington Bridge. And you had medical people, you had ambulances caught up. This thing was closed down. And obviously he knew about it. But he blamed the young lady that worked for him and another person, and they got into a lot of trouble. She ultimately was, I don't know, exonerated, but she got out of it a little bit. But she went through hell. She was a young mother, nice person. I knew her a little bit. And another man went to jail. And Chris got off. And so when I listen to Chris speak his hate, I say, oh, what about the George Washington Bridge? You know, tell me about the George Washington Bridge. He blamed other people, but he knew all about it. So no, I don't know if they want to look at it. It's not for me. If they want to look at it, they can. You could ask Pam. I think we have other things to do, but I always thought he got away with murder.
Mr. President, do you plan to make an endorsement in the Texas Senate race between Ken Paxton and John Cornyn?
Well, I'll make up my mind. I like them both. The worst situation I have is when I have two people that I get along with well. I hate it. And they all want the endorsement. You know, I'm almost 100% of the people I endorse win. It's a great honor. And I got, as you know, I got the largest vote in the history of Texas by far. Nobody's ever gotten more votes in the last election. I think in all the elections, the 3 elections. But they like me in Texas. So people are waiting for me. But I'd rather not comment on it right now. I like both guys. They're both friends of mine. And they're both good and very different.
There's some talk among congressional Republicans about another reconciliation bill. Where do you fall on that, and what would you like to prioritize?
Well, I don't want to do cutting. I want to save all the different things. I'm going to cut things that are unnecessary, but the one thing I said, and I gave my word, we're not going to hurt anybody on Medicaid, Medicare, or Social Security. And in fact, we're doing great on Social Security. We found 300,000 illegals on Social Security. We got them out. And, you know, things like that make Social Security very, very strong. So, no, I am very big into certain things, and one of those 3, you could say 3 of those things are Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security. We're going to protect it. And so we'll see how everything works out. If we're talking about rescissions on other things, I'm always open to cost cutting. If we can cost cut, I like it, but nothing's going to happen to medical. We have something coming up, favored nations, where I'm going to be reducing drug prices by 1,500%, where a pill that sells in Germany for $10 costs $150 here because of the bad practice. And I was all set to do it, and then we had the COVID come up, and I had to focus on that because we had the greatest economy in history in my first term. I will tell you that we are going to be doing numbers on the cost of drugs in this country that I'm not talking about a 20% decrease, which would be great. I'm talking about 1,000% decrease. We're talking about where a product would sell for $80 in Germany and $1,300 here. And we're not going to do that. We were subsidizing the entire world, and we're not doing it anymore. I informed the drug companies. I informed the world. And if the world wants to, if countries in the world don't want to go along, then I'm going to put tariffs on those countries, and we'll make more money. But they have to go along with it. So this is moving along rapidly. Dr. Oz is in charge, Bobby's group, and they're doing very well. And we're getting great cooperation from the drug, because the drug companies know it's unfair. You know, for years they'd say, well, we had to do research, and we had to do. I said, I don't care. You had to do research for these other countries also. They are ready to go, and I'm ready to go. And you know, if I pull that off, there's no way a Republican will lose an election. There's no way. All right, one more question. Steve,
Back to Ukraine.
what's this guy? He's the nicest guy I know, and he asks the most vicious questions.
Why do you think President Putin is so reluctant to meet with President Zelensky?
Because he doesn't like him. He doesn't like him. You know, they don't like. I have people I don't like. I don't like to meet with them. Sometimes I do like to meet with people I don't like.
So how do you get them together?
They don't like each other, really. And if we had a real president instead of a guy that got in there with a fraudulent election, if we had a real president, that war would have never happened. Putin actually said, if Trump were president, it wouldn't have happened. Happened for a lot of reasons. Happened because of Afghanistan. When he saw how incompetent Milley was and all these guys were, I think he said, wow, this might be it. Because it was the apple of his eye. It would have never happened if I were president.
Mr. President, you have built a relationship with Russian leaders and also North Korean leaders. As they are getting closer, how would that affect your diplomatic approach?
Well, I have very good relationships with Kim Jong-un, North Korea. I mean, a lot of people would say, oh, that's terrible. No, it's good. In fact, someday I'll see him. I look forward to seeing him. He was very good with me. We had 2 meetings. We had 2 summits. We got along great. I know him better than you do. I know him better than anybody, almost, other than his sister. His sister knows him pretty well. Now, I know him well, and I got along with him. You know, I'm not supposed to say I really like him a lot, because if I do that, I get killed in the fake news media. But I got along with him very well, and we had no problem. If at the time Hillary Clinton won the election, you would have had a nuclear war. You would have had a nuclear war. We're not going to have a nuclear war. Once that happens, it's over. We're not going to have a nuclear war. No, but Kim Jong-un will meet at some point. I look forward to it, actually. But do you notice that since I came into office, you haven't had a problem with him? Hasn't been, you know, he tests lots of rockets. He does have great capability, I will say that. But I think a lot of good things are happening for our country, a lot of really good things. And the thing we're here today to talk about is crime, and specifically in D.C. I am so proud of what these people, every one of them, what they've done in D.C., because to literally stop crime on a button. I'd walk down that street right now. If I were, friends of mine are going out to dinner now. They haven't gone out to dinner in 4 years. They were afraid, they were petrified. Half the restaurants closed because nobody could go because they're afraid to go outside. Now those restaurants are open, and new restaurants are opening up. It's like a boom town. It's a great thing to see, and I'm very proud of the people behind me. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys. Thank you guys. Thank you guys. Thank you. Come back to the tables.
Yeah, we'll come back to the tables if you guys just want to take cameras.
Well, there you go. President Trump once again telling it like it is in the Oval Office, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, as today is an RSBN doubleheader live from Studio B. In a few minutes, we'll start another live broadcast as the president greets the leader of South Korea at the White House. In the meantime, this live stream broadcast brought to you by All Family pharmacy.com/RSBN. If you want to go there, you can check it all out because you want to be prepared, of course. You want the treatments your family might need before an emergency hits. But most pharmacies and insurance companies make that almost impossible with gatekeepers and outrageous prices. So All Family Pharmacy is different. Here you can stock up on your essential medications, order exactly what you want, and keep it on hand so you're ready for anything. While other pharmacies are raising prices, All Family Pharmacy has lowered theirs, giving you 25% off their most requested medications, ivermectin and mebendazole. Plus, you'll get an extra 10% off using that RSBN 10 promo code. So they offer medications many providers refuse, like ivermectin starting at just $2 per capsule, hydroxychloroquine, mebendazole, methylene blue, antibiotics, antivirals, and more, all with a doctor's prescription included. Ordering is simple. Fill out your request online. A licensed doctor will review that. And your medications ship directly to your door in just a few days. So you can check them out. You'll definitely find something you need there. allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN and use that code RSBN10 to save that 10%. Let's also go to Pure Health. If you want to drop a few extra pounds and boost some energy levels or reduce swelling in your legs and feet, then you'll love these two American-made health supplements. First is Liver Health Formula. It's brought to you by Pure Health. Fat deposits in the liver can pile on the pounds, make you feel tired, but the Liver Health Formula actually helps reduce fat deposits with nutrients like artichoke extract and milk thistle. So get this, in a customer survey, almost 60% reported better weight management and 87% reported more energy. They also have the lymph system support. So this is the natural ingredients in the support system help gently flush extra fluid and toxins out of the body, which can help reduce swelling in the legs and feet. So right now, for a limited time, you can get that 35% off the Liver Health Formula and the lymph system support, along with all 45 plus health supplements that Pure Health Research has to offer. So you can head over to purehealthresearch.com, use that RSBN promo code at checkout. Once again, that's purehealthresearch.com with coupon code RSBN to save 35% on your order today. Let's also go to one more sponsor here, Tax Network USA. 800-357-1415 is the number. Of course, if you're looking to deal with any of the back taxes at all, this is where you'll get that peace of mind. They'll help you along the way there. tnusa.com/RSBN, 800-357-1415, a great sponsor here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. Before we wrap up this broadcast, I'd like to say something very profound. Make America great again. And as my wife said this weekend, make Cracker Barrel great again. We're going to see in a few minutes as the president is greeting the South Korean leader. I'm Matthew Alvarez. We'll see you in a minute.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You can scan that QR code now, RSBN10. That is the code, easy to remember, for 10% off. This is ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, antibiotics that will save you and yours from bacterial and viral infections, NAD+, and much, much more. 200 essential medications and emergency medical kits, the meds you trust delivered to your door.